Travis.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
I'm good. Another evening version. And,
Yeah.
I kind of like the nighttime chats.
I like the nighttime chats. We're going to have some bourbon again tonight, potentially.
Ooh.
Travis brought it to my attention, so I'll just go ahead and have some disclosure here. I am trying to transition everything in the studio and everything in my life as much as possible to blue light blocking.
Yep.
The glasses that I have on right now are not blue light blocking. I've asked Santa Claus for those to be delivered by Christmas. So at some point here, I'll have some orange glasses or some yellow glasses, whichever ones are needed. But the screen that you're going to see, any videos that I share,
just maximize your browser. I'll put it over
on most. If you have a Mac, our tech guy Travis here, who is the man behind the camera, says there is something within Mac that you can basically have blue light blocked. Mm-hmm. I probably Windows stuff and the others have that. iPhones, there's a blue light blocker, but the reason why it's a good place to start. If you have taken any of my advice about potentially listening to some other podcasts, please continue listening to ours. But Dr. Jack Kruse has been on a tirade for the last 18 months, and he comes off as a very gruff guy. He is actually very passionate. He even gets angry. He'll call people out and just call them dumbasses or call them stupid, call them all kinds of things. But what he's trying to do is prove a point. And he's gotten into some deep conversations with some guys that really like him and he really likes them. And what he comes to say to them is, I'm mad and I'm calling you on your stuff because you remind me of me when I was your age. And I'm trying to get through to you and you just don't understand what I'm trying to tell you. Right. And what he's trying to tell people, he's 100% pissed off and confident that by ignoring this blue light theory, what he is rolling out, that we are catastrophically and unnecessarily harming every person that is suffering from a disease or condition. And he is calling it a root cause solution. And Dr. Roy, going back to this is our 38th podcast, going back to our very first one, I've told you from the very beginning, like, if I have to take any pharmaceutical medication, if there's a way to fix me at the root cause, that's the way I want to do it. Sure. And if I can do it that way, that's the way I want to do it. And call me a pain in the butt or stubborn, whatever, that's fine. But whenever the reason why Dr. Jack Kruse is resonating with me at this level is because he is basically preaching to the choir what I want to hear. So I want to prove either he's not legitimate, or I want to say he's so onto something that we all really need to wake up. This is the Maha. This is the Maha wake up call to me. Yeah. He says pharmaceutical things are an issue. He says food things are an issue, but hands down, our light problems are the most important thing that we can do to help people en masse across all segments of society.
Well, think about the fact that over the last 25 or 30 years, the whole light industry has been changed from the incandescent bulbs that were very bright, that sort of thing, to the LEDs, to the fluorescent ones that we see now. So there has been a huge change, and it started in the Obama administration with the LEDs. And
they said it was something. They said it was something basically because they wanted to save energy. It was about climate and energy, right?
Climate and energy.
That's what they told us.
Yeah, that's what they told us. But really, in fact, what they wanted to do was to make it more difficult for us to be healthy. Yeah, and it didn't start about that time. It was well under roll, but I saw a woman working in a fast food restaurant the other day that I swear to God weighed 400 pounds, because she turned around to get my sandwich, and honest to God, her butt was this wide. And I said, and she was young. And I said, Jesus, where did these people come from? I never saw that back in the 1970s. You never saw that.
Well, according to Jack, we'll have this ongoing conversation because this is one of the things we're always going to come back to. We're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about chemicals in food. We're going to talk about how we can regulate our diet and be more healthy. Jack is saying over and over and over again that we need to solve the light problem first.
Well, and I agree with him because, you only eat 3 times a day. You only take medications once or twice a day. But you are in light all the time, buddy. And unless you're outside with real sunshine coming down on you, which I was this morning. I was out there. It was 28 degrees and the sun was shining. So I was getting my perfect balance of all the things that Jack likes us
as perfect
to get.
as you can get on the parallel we are here in Indiana.
Yeah, in Indiana.
He says the 38th parallel is the best parallel for
we are
for
the
sun
38th
exposure.
parallel.
He said, well, the parallel that he is saying, I thought it was it goes across Florida, kind of Destin.
No, that's way too low. 38th parallel, which is the same one that separates North Korea from South Korea.
Oh, 28th parallel. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I misspoke.
Yeah, the 38th parallel is Morgan Avenue.
You can pull up my screen real quick, Travis, if you can. He was doing a podcast up in Vermont.
Oh, yeah.
He was doing a podcast up in Vermont, and he was talking to the guys about this time of year. Their ability to get optimal sunlight is not great, and he's the 28th parallel is actually the one that he says is optimal in the United States.
Of course, this SOB grew up in New Orleans and did all his medical training there. So obviously he had New Orleans lined in that one.
Oh yeah.
Put that back up there.
Well,
and
his
you
new
can see it running through New Orleans.
Well, in his if you go to his website and his health facility, it's located in Destin now. He's in Destin, Florida. He's that's where his practice is in America. He's now, we've talked about him being.
Still lives
he's in El Salvador.
Yeah, Destin, Florida is a nice place.
Yeah,
it used to be
just above the 28th parallel.
Yeah, it used to be a nice little town with just a few fishing boats and everything, but it has grown so much. I was stationed there between 1980 and 1983. At Eglin Air Force Base, which is right across the bay from Destin. And I would go out to Destin at least once every 2 weeks or so. Wow, I went there more often because I had girlfriends in Destin. But, it was a nice little place. And now it's got, 55 step buildings there, and it's horrible.
Oh yeah, the condo I stayed at when I went down there was probably 20 floors. Well, maybe not. Maybe like 18 floors, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like we probably are about the 38th parallel. The 45th parallel gets you up around the top of.
We're the 38th
Vermont.
parallel. I
can see that being about right.
There's a sign on I-69 right at the Morgan Avenue Met interchange, and it says this is the 38th parallel.
Oh, well, there you go.
And I always put that when people ask me where I am, and I say 38th parallel, and they all think of Korea when I do that.
I just say the toe of the boot of Indiana.
Yeah.
That's how I put it.
Well, let's get back into the meat of the program here, and so. What Dr. Roy and I have started to talk about, and why I think it's important, we need to continue talking about it until we can talk about it and everyone knows it. That is the MK Ultra experiment that you basically alluded to when you said that we changed light. So Dr. Jack Kruse basically has said up to 55% of our population is under mass MK Ultra experiment, and basically being impacted directly from an MK Ultra like experiment. MK Ultra was done with drugs and in a slightly different way, and we're doing it in a light. I've got a clip here. I'm gonna actually. This is 12 minutes. I'm not gonna share it all, but I want you to hear the beginning of it. I'm gonna have the link in the show notes. It's only 12 minutes. I highly recommend if you want to learn about MK Ultra and how it's been rolled out to the masses now, and why that's bad. And so part of the push for me is going to figure out what lights I need in my house, what lights other people may need in their house. Do we need to go back to incandescent bulbs? Do we need to get with our government and basically enforce or make them enforce the fact that we don't need LED lights? If we do have LED lights, is there filters that we can put on them to protect people?
Yeah.
These are the conversations that we need to have. Did you have something you want to say before I play the clip?
I mean, if we got like a spectrometer or some way to measure, I'm pretty sure that, like, for instance, the bulbs I have, you can warm the color. You can kind of pretty much do like your laptop has here.
They can be warmer. I'm not sure that. I mean, the spectrum part of it is the ideal, I think, is somewhere between 4 and 550 nanometers is the spectrum of light that is ideal. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but I have
no way to measure that.
Yeah, right.
I would love to maybe figure.
So, I mean, I think we all need to have tools at our hand. Like if the government says, well, they forced all of us to upgrade our lighting. They forced us to redo a bunch of different things. Yeah. We all threw away our incandescent light bulbs because they were bad for the environment.
I mean, they do use a lot less energy, LED bulbs.
Yeah, that's great. But what energy that we're saving, the government and big tech is using with AI tools. So, I mean, they just want us to suffer and utilize. Anyway, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole.
Boy,
I'm going to play this clip.
You're a hater tonight, aren't you?
I'm on. Well, Dr. White, Dr. Jack's pissed off, and there's several times during this last week that I hear the passion in his voice, and it makes me mad too. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I've been pretty light on Obama. There's several things, including Obamacare, that I think were absolutely dreadful for humanity.
Yeah,
but mostly I just like, okay, he was fine. I hated Bush. I hated most other presidents around him. So, but this really makes me mad. So he either willingly or knowingly did this, and he knew it was going to be a detriment, or whoever told him to do it basically didn't tell him the truth. So I'd like to hear him come to.
I got a feeling deep down in my heart that Obama knew what he was doing when he pushed this. I don't think anybody lied to him, but they may not have told him everything that he was supposed to know, the whole truth.
Well, I mean, we're all defending him is half of the truth is still not the truth. So, I mean,
yeah.
So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but this is one of those things that if you want to right yourself on the ship of time, you need to come on and say, I didn't know about this. This is terrible. This is the conversation that we need to have.
We're going to fix it.
Prove you're wrong. You just say I was wrong.
Yeah.
Blah. It's not that hard. Anyway, here's the clip. Travis, you got me queued up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a weapon that the CIA doesn't want you to know exists. If you're exposed to this weapon, it'll change the way your brain works. It changes your life, turns it upside down. Since the 1950s, there have been countless reported cases of this weapon's effects. The weapon has claimed victims on every continent besides Antarctica. What you're about to hear is a story of government cover-ups, top-secret documents, and Cold War-era technology. This is not a conventional weapon of mass destruction, but something far more terrifying. A weapon that targets the human mind itself. This weapon, once deployed, has the power to fundamentally alter the way your brain functions. It's not just about changing your thoughts or emotions. It's about rewiring the very essence of who you are. And it's happening right under our noses, every single day. Recently, on the Danny Jones podcast, Dr. Jack Kruse shed light on some shocking revelations about this mysterious weapon. His insights challenge everything we thought we knew about MKUltra and its modern-day implications. The entire intelligence community of the United States has publicly and vehemently denied these allegations. But as we've learned time and time again, official denials often mask the darkest truths. Let's start at the beginning. In the 1950s, at the height of the Cold War, the CIA launched a top-secret program codenamed MKUltra. On the surface, it was billed as a research initiative to counter Soviet mind control techniques. But beneath this thin veneer of national security lay a far more nefarious agenda.
So you may have heard of this program called MKUltra. So MKUltra is the merging of two things. The first thing gets merged is this idea from Dalits that they're going to study it. Then there's another guy who's a 1937 surgeon, SS guy named Kurt Plotkin. Plotkin worked with the Nazis. His idea was mind control through the use of Mexican peyote.
MKUltra was, in essence, a merging of two distinct ideologies. The first stemmed from the aftermath of the Kennedy assassination in Dallas, where there was a push to study and understand the manipulation of human behavior. The second influence came from a much darker source, Nazi Germany.
Okay. So that was just 2 minutes of 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I wanted to share it because you can tell it's really well prepared. I love just how informative it is. I highly recommend listening to all 12 minutes. But the basic nuts of it is the light they're giving us is bad for our brain.
Yeah.
And really the only light we have access now to, if you go into public spaces anywhere, we're just inundated with it. And you go back to them telling us to go inside during the COVID, the pandemic. Where are you going to go inside to? You're going to go in, get your television screen on, which is blue light.
Oh yeah,
turn on your lights in the house.
Blue light 3.
So it's doing everything, and I'm going to share a bunch of clips today that are basically going to talk about how it actually breaks down and damages your brain. Go ahead if you got a comment on the clip.
I saw one thing today about a test of Swedish children, and they found that the more they were exposed to light like this, the more likely they were to get ADHD or even autism. And they went through the whole thing and said, yeah, it's because you put them indoors and you don't let them go outside and look at the sun and all that. And they said,
I wouldn't recommend looking at the sun.
Yeah. Well, I looked at the sun today, but not for very long. The other thing they said was that the number of skin cancers was associated with the lack of light. And of course, that just turns everything upside down that we've been taught in medical school, that if you get out in the sun, you're more likely to develop skin cancers. So Sweden has a socialistic medical system that they can chase everybody's things all throughout their life because there's only one medical system in Sweden. And my response to that whole thing was more skin cancers for less light. Do the same thing in Australia, because Australia has the highest rate of skin cancers in the world. And one of the reasons is that most of the people who live in Australia, except for the indigenous people, are blonde, blue-eyed, or red-haired. And that's because they were sent from Ireland and Scotland in Great Britain, and their ancestors were sent to Australia because they were criminals.
Yep, it was a prison.
Yep. And that's the way it started out. So most of the people that you run into in Australia are blonde, blue-eyed, fair-skinned, or red hair. And that's why, at least in the opinion of most of the dermatologists down there, that's why they have such a high risk of melanoma, is because they are white-skinned and they get out in the sun. You go to the beach in Brisbane and they're just laying around in the sun because they get, like 11 months of good sunshine down there in Australia. There's only one place in Australia where it snows.
Well, you at the beginning of your comment regarding that, you mentioned something about ADHD, and this is going to be something that me and Travis are very captivated by, I would imagine. I don't know about his daughter, but both my sons have had issues from time to time about, and we seemingly went through a window of time where all schools, all doctors, pediatricians.
I remember that.
We're
yeah.
pushing ADHD medicine. Well, everyone
Sure.
has ADHD. Now, this is not an attack on pediatricians. This is not an attack on all doctors, because our kids were in fact presenting strangely compared to normal. And you just queued up this clip for me. I wasn't going to play it in this order, but I'm going to go ahead and play this. Travis, you don't mind sharing my screen here?
Time-lapse cameras were used in a standard first-grade classroom, and several hyperactive children may be noted, especially the boy in the immediate foreground.
Yep.
It's 4 times the speed, just so you know. This is
90 days after, the regular cool white fluorescent tubes were replaced with the new type full spectrum fluorescent tubes with radiation shields, there was a marked improvement noted, and the extremely hyperactive boy has voluntarily moved up to the front row. He raises his hand for recognition and is now up at the blackboard taking part in classroom activities. Prior to the time that this new lighting was installed, this particular boy had an extreme learning disability problem, but quickly learned to read within 90 days after the new lights were installed. There was further noted a general average improvement in both the behavior and academic achievement of the entire class. There are, however, other factors that must also be considered. The implications of the biological effects of light and radiation, as observed through time-lapse photography, are obvious.
Well, and they didn't say it, but I specifically bet. What? You're looking at me funny, buddy.
that's all I got.
Yeah. Well, not you, him.
It's a face I was born with.
Yeah.
Face for radio, baby.
I was actually smiling at
They
what
didn't
Chad
say anything about it, but I secretly suspect that they did not use any ADHD medication on that kid that was doing backflips.
Yeah, there's a
down
little
there.
bit of anecdotal thing you have to assume
Yeah.
that he. But you look at the marked change in all the class, and that was notable. And he wasn't looking at you. He was. I made a noise. I made a noise in exasperation, based on the fact that every parent. We should be taught this. This is something that
I know.
the news should have blown up. So
that was like the 70s or something. When was that? 60s,
yeah.
70s?
That sounds like the 50s.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
the dress kind of looked more
so
like
if you
70s
you can
maybe.
share my.
Well, I couldn't
hang on
see
a
it
second
that
here.
well. I'm sitting over here in a cubby.
Share my screen. I'll read through this here. So I'll go ahead and just. This was yesterday. I posted this on Facebook. I said it's easy to dismiss things like this that seem too crazy or inconvenient to our desired ideology. But with all the damage we've done to younger generations since 2020, we owe it to them to get this right. And I won't read all that, but
It was 77.
Dr.
I see
Yeah,
it
so
there
Dr.
now.
Jack Kruse.
77?
Yeah, it's this
Boy,
John.
that
Ott.
sounded way old.
So this is a Sarasota school experiment. Again, why I was exasperated and why I'm mad, and this really, I'm starting to channel my inner Jack Kruse. The fact that this was hidden or not at least fleshed out and talked about at a large level, and the fact that every school in America probably has those tube fluorescent light bulbs. This was 1977. I was in
most of
school.
them
That's
do.
all we had.
I was in school starting about 1980 and did school all the way through. No, it was earlier than that. Whatever it was. But anyway, so I was exposed to this stuff, and if this is true, this is an attack. This is a blatant a blatant attack. And then not only that, if pharmaceutical companies are getting their way, the GE Light, the people that are in the big corporations are working with the government and they're mind controlling us, and they get to sell pharmaceutical product to us on the back end.
Yeah, the pharmaceutical products, Adderall and Ritalin, are the ones that they give out by the handfuls, by the truckloads, to the little boys who are jumping around, and it's the GD lights on top.
Well,
of
I mean, conspiracy theory, think it or not, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to dig through as much as stuff and what Jack Kruse is saying, basically, it ties right into this perfectly. So if you prove him wrong, maybe you prove this wrong simultaneously, but I don't see it happening.
You got to remember, I knew some of the guys who trained Jack Kruse. Jack Kruse is about 10 years younger than I am, and he trained in New Orleans at the Ochsner Clinic and at Louisiana for LSU. But the guys that trained him were also the same people that I worked with in 1991, 1992, that were probably still training guys like him at the Ochsner Clinic. Because I spent 9 years in Baton Rouge and New Orleans between 1991 and 1980, or 2000, I'm sorry. I went backwards. 1980, I was pretty dumb. So anyway, that's it. But the more I hear Jack Kruse talk, the more it makes sense to me.
I want any doctor, anyone that considers himself to be knowledgeable, to willing to dig into his theories, to come and prove him wrong.
Yeah.
That's all I want. And
Right.
if you do that in a true way, not just in slinging arrows and saying a bunch of bullshit, then I'll listen to you. But you better bring your receipts, because he's got his receipts. And so here I got several clips, and we talked about how the light is not only making our kids dumb and ourselves dumb, but it's also making us fat. I got another clip.
Oh, okay. Tell
ahead.
me that. How does it make us fat?
Okay.
Because a lot of people really ought to know that. I saw that poor young lady who was 400 pounds with the extra fat on her, and she was barely able to move around behind the counter.
I think I've got two more clips here, and I don't know if I got them perfectly in order. Hopefully I do. This one should be.
Woo. Yeah.
But this is.
Verify this. He wrote a very nice blog post, I don't know how long ago it was, that there's data from N. Haynes that when you have deficiencies of vitamin A, it's tied to obesity. And nobody has told you why. I'm telling you why right now. Because you're blue light toxic. Blue light makes you fat. Okay? Really fat. And it starts right here. The reason why
I'm buying
this is not
that.
equal is because light, the evolution of light, does not equal the evolution of our retinal anatomy. I started to put this together pretty quick. Then I started to look at sunrise and sunset. When the sun rises, you have visible and infrared light. You don't have any UV initially. But guess what else happens at this time? You don't need your rods, and you don't need melanopsin in the morning. So guess when they regenerate? They regenerate in the AM. Guess what else happens? You actually make melatonin in your eye in the morning. The hormone of darkness is first made in the human body in the eye. In the morning, when you have a combination of UVA and infrared A light. And the reason for you is what I told you before about the aromatic amino acid that absorbs that. And you see that UVA light doesn't show up here. So for the guy last night, who I don't know who you are, but asked the question, how am I going to do this as an executive and fix my life? This is the key. You need to reconstruct your AM to fix your real problem. And that was what I had to do to my surgery schedule. That's why I stopped operating at 7 a.m. Started all my cases at 8:30. It's also the reason why I moved to the 28th latitude from where I lived. Why? Because UVA light shows up. Now, you guys here that live in Vermont got some bad news for you. If you've got a mitochondrial disease, which most diseases are, you need that UVA light, and it shows up later here than it does in New Orleans. So guess what that means? You need more control of your life in the morning than any other time. That's the practical advice, okay? These are not Jack Kruse's rules. These are the sun's rules, okay? Sunset, this is when you don't need color vision. This is the camera. They regenerate at nighttime. There's another opsin that you may not know about. It's called neuropsin. It's on the cornea of the eye, and it's on your skin. It's a UVA light detector. Melatonin is considered the hormone of darkness. Remember those photon traps I told you about? Well, guess what? That neuropsin tells the brain that UVA light is present, and it can begin to make melatonin from sunlight. Now, what are all the effects? Here's the quantum paradox. It's a nighttime hormone because that's what the functional medicine doctors in my profession have told you. And that's true because that's when it's active, but it only activates when light is not present, but it's remade first in the eye and then generalizes all along the brain.
Yeah.
The other key thing, and I'll just point this out to you right here. This one should open everybody's eyes. It reduces energy production in mitochondria. UVA light turns down energy production. And why is that important? There's the fourth cytochrome is cytochrome C oxidase in everybody's mitochondria in here. Anybody want to guess what kind of light turns it on? Red light.
Yep.
UV light turns it off. And the reason why, what does UV light make in the skin or the eye? Nitric oxide. And guess what? That's why UV light lowers your blood pressure, because it causes 40 to 60% of dermal pooling and it helps your heart. But what people don't realize the effect is, it turns off your ability to make ATP from food electrons. You have this direct loop that goes to the pineal gland, but the energy comes in here. This energy has to be balanced, blue and red. What does this first do? It turns your pituitary gland on. That's the reason why the question that was asked to Ruben before is extremely important. Blue light balanced by red is what turns on hormone production. If you look at a circadian mechanism, all the hormones are made usually from 6 to 10 in almost any medical textbook. They're assuming that you live around the 30th latitude. That's not true. It's different at different places, but it's a key. Anybody want a shocker? What turns off hormone production? UVA light on the skin, first time it shows up. UV light is what turns off in your blood plasma. This is the key, folks. Blue light that's man-made is absolutely destroying us, and it affects the way your mitochondria can handle electrons from food. That's where the food story comes in, because the more those respiratory proteins get stretched out, it doesn't matter what you eat.
There's going to be a lot of these grunts from me today. I'm telling you what, guys. This is a 25-minute video.
Tim Allen over there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you hear something for the first time that you can't unhear,
Yeah.
and it starts getting broken down into into segments that even my little brain can understand, this is earth shaking. I mean, it really is earth shaking, and I want to be proven wrong. Dr. Roy, can you prove me wrong?
No. In fact, I'm all with him on that.
Okay.
Because the whole thing about mitochondria, that's my whole deal about methylene blue. Is that methylene blue is like putting STP in your gas tank. You put methylene blue into your mitochondria, and it really makes it go better.
Yeah, so me and Dr. Roy have both started taking methylene blue. I'm mixing mine up a little bit. Dr. Roy, I think you got the same one.
Yeah, that's that one, because I gave you that one.
Yeah, so you found this on Amazon, is this
Yeah,
right?
that's on Amazon.
It's pharmaceutical grade, and
It's $26 for 50 milliliters, and so far I've been using it a month, and it's not even half empty.
we are not making any money off this product.
So what's your dose? Half a milliliter?
No, it's a milliliter. There's a
the dose is a
line.
milliliter.
There's a line around the
Yeah, if you just pull the dropper, I think
you
it basically
fill the
gets
dropper
right
up,
to it.
and that's exactly a milliliter. And I do not advise putting
Fill it all the way up, or just to where it stops whenever you pull the dropper?
whenever it stops.
Okay.
You can't fill it all the way up.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
But I do not recommend putting it directly in your mouth, because your mouth will be blue for the remainder of the day, and it tastes awful. The best way to consume that is to put it in coffee, put it in some kind of juice that doesn't have a lot of acid in it, for example, apple juice, and consuming that in the morning. Now, your apple juice is going to look blue, just like my coffee does every morning, but I've learned to live with that, and my spouse looks at me crazy. She did for one day. She said, "Why is your coffee blue?" And I said, "You don't need to know."
Not yet. I'll reveal it to you in good time.
That's right.
Well, so Dr. Roy gave his first push to my wife today at lunch. We just happened to run into we run into them today at our Thai place that we go to. They just happened to be there, and we just happened to go there, and we sat with him and the other doc, and so she got the
Carlos the international spy. Yeah.
Carlos the not spy,
terrorist. My bad.
Carlos the international terrorist.
So anyway, so the story here is, again, folks, I'm going to say this until the world is talking about it. We need to either prove this man wrong, or we need to change humanity, or America first. This is where we're going to say, America first, rather than worry about what the rest of the world's doing just yet. But we need to change our light. The story right now for me is light, Doc. The food is important, of course, and I've got clips about fluoride. I've got clips about different stuff that I want to talk about. But this is something I'm going to keep beating on until you and I have fleshed it out.
Well, you and I agree on this. And the thing about food, you eat food 3 times a day. You're in light for 10, 12 hours a day. So it's going to be way ahead of you on that.
Well, and the problem is not eating necessarily 3 times a day, but I mean, I think where there might be a little friction is the quality of food that we're getting is so bad that it's not nutrient dense enough.
Yeah. And
so we are overeating because we don't have that mechanism of being full.
Yeah.
But I also think the light and the breakdown of the mitochondria is not digesting and giving us the significance of the food that we should be getting.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna throw something else out here. Where in the world do you find humans and animals with the greatest amount of vitamin A in their body? Where in the world?
Vitamin A?
Vitamin A.
Oh, underwater?
Why humans can't live
humans.
underwater.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of something.
Humans and animals.
Vitamin A. I don't know.
It's the Arctic. And if you go up there and you happen to test some of the natives, they'll have large amounts of vitamin A in their body. Not toxic, but large amounts. On the other hand, some of the animals are more adaptable, and they will have toxic amounts of vitamin A in their bodies, and it's not bothering them at all. And one of the examples came in one of the Arctic expeditions where they were running out of food, and they killed a polar bear, and they ate the flesh, but they also ate the liver of the polar bear. And the liver of the polar bear is just loaded with vitamin A. It is so toxic that virtually no animals can withstand that amount of vitamin A. And there was quick death among the people who ate the liver of the polar bear. There were only a few that survived, and they were ones who had not eaten the liver of the polar bear. So it's got huge amounts. Vitamin A toxicity is a horrible thing to see. And back in the day, back in the 70s, when I started in medicine, large amounts of vitamin A were prescribed to young women mainly for their acne. And they were given large amounts of vitamin A. And lo and behold, they developed intracranial problems, problems with the inside of the brain, and they went into a coma, and they died from vitamin A poisoning. And that's why you have to be very, very careful if you're taking vitamins of any sort, is to make sure that you do not take too much of vitamin A or vitamin D. Vitamin D will kill you just as well.
Well, this is something that you and I are going to have to flesh out over time. We've talked about different supplements. Dr. Jack is very anti-supplement, and he's to the point where he's like, if you're taking a supplement, basically you're saying that Mother Nature makes mistakes, and there's something to be said there. But just to fine tune what he's saying, he said if you get your metabolic health in line, you will get the nutrients that you need from the food that you take.
Sun is what gives you vitamin D,
right?
And the vitamin A will be kept at a proper level. But if you're not getting out in the sun, like 100% of the people are, and if you're not,
or if you're putting too much sunscreen on, you're not naturally assimilating.
Yeah, you can get out there and lay for 5 hours, but you've got sunscreen on, and you get absolutely no vitamin D.
I do want to talk about this real quick because I had someone challenge me.
Yeah.
I made a post on Facebook about.
They didn't know
the
who
story
they were talking to.
No, the story of light, and basically he, I felt bad for him because he made this big thing. Well, I got super bad sunburn and I had melanoma, and he showed a picture of himself having to go through this big treatment, but he didn't. He only was focusing in on sun. He got a sunburn and he got skin cancer. He didn't look at the whole story. So what I'm trying to tell him is, yes, if you go out and you're not in the sun all the time, and you go to the Bahamas and you get scorched to death, you're going to damage your skin. I'm not saying your cancer is not going to happen that way, but if you are slowly assimilating and being out in the sun regularly and starting in the morning, getting early light, and then building up a base layer tan, you're basically protecting yourself. And what Dr. Jack has talked about, and you and I will flesh out over time, is most people that work outdoors, consistently outdoors, aren't the people that have skin cancer. People that live along closest to the equator, where the sun's
they don't have skin
cancer at all. So you can't just look at the sun and blame the sun. Doesn't correlate at all.
That's the whole thing about Australia.
Yeah.
You take people who are not genetically fixed for living in the equator, and you move them to an extremely high sun area, and they all get melanoma.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. Because they probably weren't slowly exposed to it either. They were basically thrown
they were thrown in there as
prisoners of the island, right?
And then
they were free roaming, right? They weren't putting.
No, they continued.
just the whole
they continued to have children and all this, and the children have the same genes, and they go to the beach at Brisbane and sit there for 6 hours with very little sunscreen or anything else on, and they get burned as hell. And then next thing you know, they've got a melanoma on their butt.
You got something, Travis?
Yeah, I just wanted to pull the car back onto the road real quick and
you did?
talk about that last clip, because I mainly have a question, so I'll watch that whole clip. But a lot of that he was showing the eye and the retina and everything. So is most of the pros and cons, or excuse me, I guess that's not what I mean. The pluses and the minuses of blue light, is most of that through the eye, or is it also skin?
No, it's eye.
It's eye. So if you protect your eye, if you get some type of blue light glasses, that's going to do the same thing as changing the whole room to blue, or to get the blue light out of the room light, right? I don't know. I'm asking.
I would based on what I know now, and I'm not a doctor, nor am I a physicist, nor am I an expert in light at this moment. What I am understanding, you see Dr. Jack, you see the people that have become mitochondriacs behind him, is they are usually, if they're in a room, they got the lights off or they have red light. And so even if you have glasses on, you're still, if you're around,
still getting some of it in, sure.
You're still getting nailed with it, and I believe the skin is a receptor as well.
Yeah, it's not as much as the eye. The eye is like
direct correlation.
Direct thing. It's putting it through a tunnel, and that's why I'm going to the sauna, because of the red light in there. And it's kind of tough, but I feel better every time I come out of the sauna.
Yeah, so I don't have anyone particular that I'm going to plug on this. If you're interested in ultraviolet infrared sauna. Both
infrared sauna, not ultraviolet.
Yeah, infrared sauna. Both me and Dr. Roy are going to two different places. You can ask either one of us if you live in the southern Indiana area. But I know these things are very trendy, so you'll find places now popping up everywhere that do cold plunges and that do intense infrared light. And we're going to be talking about cold plunges and stuff too.
Yeah.
But I really want to talk about light first.
The cold plunges, if you can tolerate it without passing out, that's fine. But a just as good way to get your cold getting out there is to put on a reasonable amount of clothing and go out in 25 degree weather and walk 5 miles. That's what I do. And, thank God I've got a very large dog, not very large. He's 82 pounds, but he has poor boundaries.
Yeah. Well, I'll take you one step further. Dr. Jack has talked about acting like a sphinx, facing the sun and being grounded with no shoes on the earth is ideal. Based on what I'm hearing right now. I haven't dug as much into that because the way my brain's working and how I'm trying to attack things is I'm trying to eliminate and learn one thing at a time here.
You got to be careful because you never know what's going to be woo when Jack talks about it.
I know.
It does kind of sound like you might live in a tree and you don't shave your armpits. But
I don't shave my armpits anyway.
I know that was a joke.
I went down the earthing, grounding rabbit hole probably 15 years ago, and I do strongly believe in it. I'm just not going to talk about it yet. But anyway, I feel like, and I can give you some anecdotal evidence. Me and my oldest son, who has just moved to Colorado, we used to go outside of an evening and just take our shoes off and just stand out in the grass and just kind of just sit there and hang out. And
you bring up Colorado and grass, I think of the devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce, is that what you call it?
Yeah, it's the devil's lettuce. Anyway, sorry, you guys, you grounded yourselves.
I'm not saying that has something to do with his moving there, but probably did. Anyway, that's, I believe in it. So I'm going to get back to this clip. I do have just maybe one more clip talking about light. And this is, hopefully this cues in with where we are, and I'll cut it off quick if it doesn't.
And what he found is that when he took plants, when he put them in different light, the chloroplast molecules rotated faster than not. Then he decided to do it on animals, and he found out that one of the cells in the eye called the retinal pigmentum epithelium, which you're going to hear about shortly, at the base of the eye, has melanin granules that absorb what? UV light, because it's made out of those things that we talked about. Rotates faster, and guess what it makes?
Did I already show this clip?
A DC electric current in the eye. So that means you can regenerate tissues when you have a high DC electric current. Isn't that right, Ruben? Didn't Becker tell us that? Isn't that interesting? He went even further. And this is probably one of the most counterintuitive things I'm going to tell you. This is a picture of people's pituitary glands who were blind and who could see. What did he do? He went the extra distance. This is what I want you to focus in on. Light slows, energy is lost, the pituitary gets bigger. When I saw this, I immediately realized that everything in medicine was completely ass backwards. Why? Why did I say that to you? Everybody in this room, except the people that heard me talk last year, believe that people get fatter because they eat too much. Turns out it's exactly the opposite. So when you sprain your ankle, does your ankle get bigger or smaller? Okay. When you have heart failure, does your heart get bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
Okay. Just so you know, he said it gets bigger. Here's the third one. When the star in the sky dies, does it get bigger or smaller? It gets a red giant. So everything that loses energy in the universe gets bigger. What did Hallwich tell us? Hallwich showed that when light slows, the pituitary gets bigger. You know why it's getting bigger? Because light is getting turned into chemicals that you call hormones that go in to the nuclear DNA to change it. Guess what that means? That means light is capable of altering DNA. It also means that light is capable of potentially reversing my previous problem. Meaning that when you're obese, maybe your main problem is you're not getting enough sunlight, and it has nothing to do with food. How's that for
I'd push back on that a little bit.
Just
That's what Fritz Holwich taught me. So,
I
didn't believe any of this.
I just
and
had
most
an
of you may not know
epiphany
this,
on
but I went
that.
to medical school at LSU.
Go ahead. What's your epiphany?
Good thing you cut him off at LSU, because that's a medical school in Louisiana, but I don't think very much of LSU.
What was your
Did you have
epiphany?
something to say? You had an epiphany. What was the epiphany?
I had an epiphany about the light making you fat, the wrong kind of light making you fat.
Okay.
And, because I always thought that excess calories, but there are hormones in your body that can force you to gain weight. And one of them is insulin, and one of them is an insulin type precursor. And if you have...
So pre-diabetic?
Yeah. Well, it's even more than that.
Okay.
These people have insulin resistance.
Oh, yeah. All right.
And their body will not follow the instructions of the hormone insulin, and it just sits there and builds fat cells over and over. And I've seen this in so many of my patients that I have treated with GLP-1 lately, and they were. It was interesting. You measure their insulin, and it's like 60. Normally, it should be less than 20, 25, something like that. And these people are they're consuming 1,000 calories a day and exercising 3 or 4 hours a day, and they are still gaining weight.
Yeah, I want to hear your pushback, but I think I know what your pushback is going to be, and I think I'm going to give you. I could tell you what I think, but
So I'm not saying that he's wrong. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't build like it's not a block. Like
that's good, because if I'm tweeting him, I'm blowing you up.
I can whatever. I don't know enough about light to really talk about that, but I will tell you that if you start eating 1,000 calories, you're going to lose weight. Like if
not necessarily.
If Auschwitz, they didn't get fed, they all got scrawny.
They didn't all. I mean, they also did not have insulin resistance.
So I'm just saying that if you stop eating, you're going to lose weight. So the food has parts to do with it.
Okay, but
I'm not saying all parts.
But yeah, you forgot about the fact that the people who have insulin resistance, they usually can't get below 1,000 calories a day, but they will still gain weight while they are exercising 2 to 3 hours a day, and they're eating 1,000 calories, but they're packing on pounds.
But you're just picking one statistic of the population. Like, I don't have insulin resistance, and I'm kind of fat.
Well, but do you know what? Do you know what? How do you know you don't have insulin resistance?
My blood sugar is always right when it gets checked. And
bullshit. Your blood sugar has nothing to do with the amount of insulin in your body. What you need to check is a morning fasting serum insulin.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy
you need a full.
to
You need a full panel.
I just do a full panel for my doctor every 6 months.
Yeah,
I just did one like a month ago for her today.
Yeah, she measures your blood glucose, and that's nothing. What will really show is I've seen people with beautiful blood glucoses, and I check their insulin, and they have an insulin of 60. All right, let me give you an example. There's a woman in this town who is fairly well known. And when I first saw her, she weighed 220 pounds. And no, 240 pounds, because she's lost about 60. She's lost about 80 pounds in here. She had an insulin well above 60. It was probably 63 or 64. And she was exercising 3 hours every day, and she was eating 1,000 calories and she was still gaining weight, not losing weight.
So is insulin resistance only because of the light?
No.
Well, I mean, so I'm just saying I think there's more to it than just the light. That's all I'm saying.
Here's how I will challenge you, because I knew where you were going.
Where was I going?
Well, I knew you were going to say
calories.
I knew you were
right?
going to talk about calories.
Yeah, I lose weight when I eat. I lose weight when I eat less. I gain weight when I eat more.
That's anecdotal.
You do
that's
not
true.
have insulin resistance, and that's what normal people do.
Yeah.
But the people with insulin resistance, and believe you, 50%, nearly 50% of the population have insulin resistance. And it's because they have been...
But I don't have alcohol resistance. Thank you, Chad. Continue.
But they have been MK Ultra'd.
Ooh, you're getting out the good stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's why they've been MK.
But I mean, I've lived my my life.
Stuff.
I've been, I was in the best shape of my life when I was playing sports and eating better than I eat now, and I don't eat as well now, and I've gotten a little bigger. I'm kind of on the downswing a little bit, thankfully, because I'm starting to.
You also have an indoor job, and you're sedentary, and you're sitting in front of screens.
That's fairly new though, but
okay. So here's how I would challenge you.
At least recently, it's fairly new.
Let's fix the root. Okay, fix the root. If you believe so far most of what he's talked about, if you can't find a way to refute it yet,
I'm just saying it's not all the light. The light may play a portion of it, but it's not all the light. That's all I'm saying.
Well, okay, that's fair. I mean, are we talking about 99%?
That was really my only pushback. No, I don't know about percentages or anything. I'm just saying that maybe the light has something to do with it, but I don't think it's not 80% the light. I don't think
I think it's more than 80%.
No, it may be about 60% the light, but the light has an effect on your hormones, as Jack just said.
Sure. And hormones play a huge thing.
And your hormones, your pancreas, which makes the insulin, and your brain, which makes some of the other hormones, your pituitary gland, is, or at least it tells the other glands to make more stuff. So I think it's a whole lot more than the.
I just put it right in the camera eye.
Dr. Roy can take a shot of ivermectin.
There you go.
He didn't
vitamin B or something.
He didn't come all jacked up on vitamin
B12.
B12 this week.
B12, not just plain old vitamin B. It's B12.
When we were off camera, folks, Dr. Roy said he's going to go back and watch last week's episode and watch this week's and see if he likes himself.
Compare. Yeah. Well, because I didn't take a shot of vitamin B12 today, whereas I did.
I just took a shot of this right here.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah.
Sorry. All right. But no, all I was saying is that when we were watching that, the way he was trying to present that was just all of it. Like it was just that, and that was mine.
Normal people like you. Normal people
use
like
that lightly.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of people that would disagree with that.
Have insulin resistance. Can do that. And that's the same way. There was very little insulin resistance in the Jewish population that was sent to Auschwitz.
I don't know why that came to my head. I was just thinking of really.
Sure. I've seen the pictures that, and I've also seen the results of calorie deprivation. I've seen that in real patients. Mm-hmm. So. That's the thing, but because of something, whatever that something is, whether it's loss of light, improper light, it's whether we're poisoned in our food,
metabolic health, like you talked about,
metabolic health, whatever. 50 to 60% of the population has metabolic problems. Mm-hmm. Now,
I'd agree with that.
And it ties not just to obesity either, Doc. It ties to a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right. Remember, I'll always turn back to the Lewis and Clark expedition in 1804, 1806, and when they met the Native Americans, they were all described as tall, muscular, and very much able to walk 20 miles a day or run 10 miles a day. Now, spin that forward to 2024 and go to an Indian reservation, and what will you see?
McDonald's.
Worse than that, pizzas and McDonald's and everything else. You will see individuals who are morbidly obese, and 50 to 60% of them have overt diabetes mellitus. But you'll see 60 or 70 of them that are morbidly obese.
I'd be really interested to see a little more data on that, to see if they're indoors, sedentary, if they're still spending. I mean, because
they're probably more indoors than they were back then.
Well, yeah. There wasn't indoors really back then. So like the Lewis and Clark, they were outside. They were seeing the sun up every day. They were seeing the sun down every day. And so they were exposed to that. Natural light was there.
Yeah, the ones that are actually working, and that's the minority of the ones, are probably doing okay. But the ones
that should tell you something in itself.
The ones who are not working, or they're working some sort of sedentary job.
I'm going to say this is casino. I mean, casinos are a big part of their deal. How much of that do you think natural light? Zero.
There's no natural light.
But it's usually pretty dim, though. Like
there's Dr. Jack talks about this in one of his stories. Where they did it in Vegas. Yeah, and so they shut all the windows. They blocked everything out. They put the unnatural lights on them. Yeah, and people stayed there more.
And get rid of clocks.
Get rid of clocks. Gave them a little bit of alcohol. Yeah. Then they brought in the hot women and hot men. And then you just kept, and they were like, they would just come there, and rather than the cartels.
Just because you're a hot man doesn't mean.
Well, so then the mobs and the cartels didn't have to do as much crime because people were just willingly coming there and giving the money,
giving the house their money.
So I mean that's how it happened anyway.
Yeah, well, Vegas is probably I don't know what the obesity percentage is in Vegas. But I would think that there's an awful lot of people who are obese in Vegas.
Yeah, native versus visitors. So I've got a few. Well, we can keep talking about this, but I just want to say at some point, hopefully, we'll do current events because I've got a couple things.
So we got three different things here, and I don't know.
I think we've beat this one enough for
today. I think we can move off of the light today.
There will be a tomorrow.
We will move. We will talk about light every path.
I need to get me some glasses.
So here, so we're building up Dr. Roy's practice, and he's going to donate some orange light glasses.
Wait a minute. Now I already bought all the equipment in here.
Well, not all of it,
and you've just about recouped it all, haven't you?
No, not quite.
Oh, okay. We're getting there.
I still got 2 boxes of ivermectin to sell.
Cancel Christmas.
Ivermectin. Talk to the good doctor.
Yeah. While we're talking about ivermectin is a drug that was originally.
This podcast brought to you by ivermectin.
Yeah, by ivermectin. It was originally made to get rid of worms that get under the skin and into the eyes and cause blindness in Africa. It's called river blindness because people who waded in the river or bathed in the river were the ones that would come down with the blindness. Ivermectin was brought out, and it worked. And it worked so well that it was rewarded with a Nobel Prize. They won the Nobel Prize in the early 80s, I think, or late. No, maybe it was 2000 that they won the Nobel Prize. But
Dr. Fauci never gave it a Nobel Prize.
Well, Fauci's going to he's making Keebler cookies in the trees now.
Go ahead and talk about ivermectin.
But ivermectin was found during COVID to be very effective in reducing the symptoms of mild to moderate COVID, and in many cases, preventing hospitalization. Now, you don't necessarily, they gave other things to people who were on ventilators and in there, but there is some data out there that says that patients were put on ventilator too early
I just had a little bit of a thought, like this is going to come out of left field, but so ventilation, oxygen, lungs, that was a big deal during COVID. Do you think methylene blue would have been something good to give COVID victims?
It actually was. We've talked about that.
Yeah, we talked
was that something? I hadn't heard about that.
Methylene blue and not ivermectin. It was hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine.
I think Dr. Jack was doing a combo of that and actually had great results with it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I had great results with ivermectin. Mm-hmm. I have had great results with hydroxychloroquine. A combination of the two is probably the best. But I saved that for the folks that were
really bad.
When
you got to juice them up a little bit more.
But I treated 100, and it was well over 120 patients during COVID for their COVID, and they were proven COVID. It wasn't that they came in with the sniffles. They had positive tests for COVID. Treated them with ivermectin. And 100% of those people did not have to be hospitalized and improved.
Yeah, we've got quite a few people buying ivermectin from Dr. Roy now. He's got it for offer. You could reach out to him on Twitter, reach out to me. The prices are better than any you'll get. The size, the quantity is better than anything you'll get.
These are 12 milligram tablets of ivermectin, and they come in bubble packs of 10. And that's enough for 2 people to take during a bout of COVID, and that'll cost $30.
Yeah, so buy
$30.
Buy the ivermectin from Dr. Roy, so me and Travis can get orange blue blocking glasses, please. And thank you.
Oh, and I thought you were going to say that you could get the more bourbon in the
No, that's the thing I sponsor. I sponsor to loosen up. We got to talk about politics here in a little while, so I want to loosen up. So we got
no kidding, right?
No, let's talk about. I don't want to run everybody off just yet. So let's leave politics to last, because I feel like some people will probably just tune out on us. The people that like us a lot will listen to what. Travis has got a couple things he wants to talk about, are really hot issues going on right now. One of them is the pardon of the president to his son.
Oh, yeah.
So you can choose between hearing about some vaccine stuff. You can choose between.
To hear about vaccine stuff.
There's some fluoride stuff. A couple quick notes that I want to hit on that. I've been holding a couple things here on statins and dementia. That's really a hot button for me, because I think you're on statins. My dad's on statins.
It's both ways.
Okay.
There are almost 50-50 of the people who say statins will cause dementia, and people will say statins do not cause dementia. I need to put it in our blender. And we need to be talking about it and keeping it in the flow. So that's why I just want to hit on a couple things here.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
So when I was talking to my doctor about methylene blue, apparently it can treat Alzheimer's pretty well, actually.
Hey.
That was something I was reading. I was just trying to, because I was sitting there in the waiting room. I was like, well, I want to talk to her about some stuff. Okay. What do I want to talk to her about? And apparently
you have not been doing your homework very well. If you would have listened to the Dr. Jack stuff, she's on target. He's talking about methylene blue. And so how the cells are breaking down, mitochondria is breaking down.
Yeah.
It basically, dementia and Alzheimer's is basically a brain disease.
Thing.
It's a brain disease. So it doesn't take very, very long to think.
We lost Doc.
What?
We lost Doc. He goes, well.
Yeah. You
didn't lose Doc.
It's a breakdown. And so part of the reason he's taking methylene blue is to potentially prevent several things he's got going on. Mm-hmm. And what I'll say is Dr. Jack has talked quite a bit about methylene blue and potential benefits on Alzheimer's, dementia, and all other brain-related and other issues.
Yeah, okay. Remember that the mitochondria are in virtually every cell in your body.
Yeah, when you learned biology back in the day, mitochondria is in every cell.
And there's more than one mitochondria in every cell. And those things are just like little generators and energy generators. And if you can make them work better with methylene blue, then go ahead and do it.
I mean, I'm thinking about it.
We're definitely, he and I, we're hammering something out here. I mean, we're basically test dummies right now ourselves, and we're both paying attention to it very closely.
That's why I'm waiting to see when you guys die or something.
What I will promise is every week we're going to talk a little bit about our experience with methylene blue and other clips and things that I'm hearing that will help back up the story.
Please,
or
help me
shoot it down.
The land of the emerald piss.
So I want to hurry up, kind of pivot here because I know
Wizard of Oz. The Wiz.
The Wiz of Oz.
I feel like tonight could go on for very long. We got a lot. We're having fun.
We're only at an hour 9.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. So share my screen real quick.
All right. It is shared.
So Fauci admits none of the 72 mandatory child vaccines were ever safety tested.
But polio.
So that's the clip. I'm going to share.
No, measles. You got to scream measles.
No, you scream polio every time.
So go ahead and share it again. So
shared the whole time.
Robert F. Kennedy has recounted how, when threatened with a lawsuit, Dr. Anthony Fauci was forced to admit none of the 72 vaccines that are currently mandated for children in the U.S. has ever been safety tested. So here's the argument that we're going to keep coming back to. You're going to say polio. You're going to say, well, this got cured, that got cured. We got to that, and I agree with that. Then we got to the point in the conversation where I said, well, how do we know that today's vaccine was the same vaccine as
we don't.
Yeah. So that's where the crux of the problem really starts happening, and how I can't trust them today is because they lied to us so heavily about the COVID vaccines, and now they're trying to merge different mRNA technologies without telling us.
And they're putting multiple vaccines all in the same shot, and I have never been a fan of them doing.
Here's the problem: we don't know.
I get more.
We don't know when they're doing it. We don't.
Yeah.
You know, my real problem is we don't know when they've changed something. We don't know what has been tested.
They don't have to tell us.
Well, they need to start having to tell us. That's where we had the repeal of the 1986 Vaccine Whatever Act. That needs to be revoked.
Yeah.
First and foremost. Now that I've lost my clip guy, he's pouring himself more bourbon.
I'll clip it. Do you want to hit your camera again, or your?
So I got.
Pardon us, folks, for a brief intermission.
I've still got it on you, man. I'm good.
Yeah,
we're good.
Okay, so there's another clip here I'm getting ready to play.
Comparing one year to the next. They've never compared the full vaccine schedule to no vaccines or to partial vaccines. They just don't do that. We looked at every single patient born into my practice up to the point of that data set being closed. We had 10 and a half years of data. It was published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, and this was the largest real-world patient data, vaxxed, unvaxxed.
So then, to be clear, what you decided to do was, okay, but I do have a large group of children in my practice that use the CDC schedule, so I have all of the evidence that they provided, and then I have the other ones in my practice that didn't use the CDC schedule, and I can compare the two schedules that way. Is that basically what you decided to do?
Well, close. So we were definitely looking at every single patient born in my practice. There was no cherry picking. There was no, we're going to exclude you for this or that. Every baby born was looked at, and we looked at every single office visit. We stratified them according to the number of vaccines they had.
Okay.
So basically we had over 500 who had 0 vaccines, and then we had another 3,700 and some who had some vaccines. And what we found, Del, was actually even mind-boggling for myself. I mean, I had a sense, I've had a practice now for 14 years where parents get to decide. The one thing I am absolute on is informed consent. You, the parent, get to decide what gets injected into your baby, if anything. You should always insist on that, or else walk out of that doctor's office. But because we do informed consent, we had a growing number of unvaccinated patients. And what I was clearly seeing was these kids don't get sick. They don't get chronic conditions. Well, the data spoke for itself. And you're showing your viewers the graphs. Those orange lines are over time, over that 10 and a half years, the more vaccines you had, the worse you were for whether we looked at infections, ADD, ADHD, neurodevelopmental issues, eczema, allergies. It doesn't matter what we looked at, even just plain old anemia skyrockets in the vaccinated when compared to the blue line, the unvaccinated.
Wow.
This data is so powerful that within 5 days of it being available online, they yanked my license. December 3rd, 2020, the Oregon Medical Board had an emergency meeting, suspended my license. I was supposedly a threat to public health.
Do not tell people the truth.
Fucking believable. Dr. Roy, I'm going to cue it right up to you, bud.
Well,
how can you argue with it? It's not anecdotal evidence. It's outside of pharma.
It's not. It's outside of pharma.
Where was he? Oregon?
Oregon.
And West Coast.
Yeah, and I feel so sorry for the guy because he did a legitimate study over 10 years. And
thousands of patients,
and he did not force any of them to do that.
It wasn't placebo, non-placebo. It was like vaxxed or unvaxxed.
Yeah.
And let's just look at how they've progressed.
Again, I have to give him some of that right there.
Yeah.
How can you ignore that? How can anyone ignore that? How can you unhear that and not force?
Obviously the Oregon Medical Board thought that he was a threat.
Well, thank you to Twitter and Elon Musk for allowing this type of content to be on the internet.
Yeah, I feel so sad that this guy lost his license.
Did he get it back?
I followed him on Facebook. I'm gonna track him. I'm gonna try to get in touch with him and maybe even get him on the podcast or something.
Yeah, we won't. I mean, it's and the thing about it is, it's not like if you lose your license in one state, you can go to another state immediately and be licensed. They all communicate with each other. So that if you lose your license in Indiana, you also lose your license in Florida and Montana and Kentucky and Louisiana.
So me and Dr. Roy have multiple tracks to take here. We have to get other doctors who want to be decentralized, who want to have real conversations and want to treat patients first. We've got some clips that we could get into talking about standard of care, which I think is a complete joke. And I've got reasons for that. There's clips to prove why I'm going to say that. I got another clip that's going to just jump right back in here. This is shared.
Throw up the one on standard of care. I want to see that.
I will. But this one is right back into the vaccine. This is from Dr. Jack Kruse. Mm-hmm. His retweet was listening ladies, centralized MDs are not. This is from Chief Nerd on Twitter, who's pretty fantastic. I've heard a bunch of his. Oh, hang on. I don't know why I'm not. Oh, here we go.
And once there's
I'm
a
start over
trial,
here.
that's what the FDA and the clinical trials are what we rely upon to find whether a product is safe and effective. And once there's a clinical trial, that's what the FDA would rely upon to then license it for that particular use. Mm-hmm. So to have a vaccine license for pregnant women, you'd need to have a clinical trial for pregnant women. You'd want to know whether it's safe and effective before promoting it to that demographic.
One would think. I mean, I'm sure that's what every pregnant woman's assuming when they see a poster that says the CDC says get your flu shot to protect your baby. They're assuming that's been well tested.
So we, as you said, we FOIA'd the FDA. Simple request: please provide all the clinical trials relied upon to license the flu shot for pregnant women.
Right.
I distinctly remember the phone call with the representative from the FDA. Got on the phone with me and tried to say, we'll just give you all the clinical trials that were used to license the flu shot. And I said, I said, thank you very much, but my client, ICANN, is not requesting all the clinical trials, just those relied upon to license the flu shot for pregnant women.
Right.
That's it. And it was a lot of hemming and hawing. Weeks, months passed, never got anything. So we decided, okay, time to go to court. We went to federal court. We sued them. And they finally admitted, that's right, we don't have any clinical trials. Because you know what? It's never been licensed for pregnant women. That's why, as you just pointed out, Del, when you see a flyer promoting a flu shot for pregnant women, does it say the company's name on it? No. Why? Because that's an off-label use. It's not a licensed use. If a pharmaceutical company promoted a flu shot for pregnant women, that would be illegal.
Really?
Yes, because it's not an approved use by the FDA. Hence, it's an off-label use. Hence, if a pharmaceutical company were to do that, they would be violating federal law. So who does all the promoting for flu shot for pregnant women?
CDC.
Exactly.
Bum, 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 bum. Enter Doge. That's all I have to say about that, Doc.
Yeah.
What do you got to say about that?
I got nothing.
Okay. Are you mad yet?
No.
Okay. I wanted you to say a little more because I got to find the other clip that you said you wanted.
Yeah.
I know I got it in here somewhere.
I didn't even know that the flu shot was an issue.
Okay.
The flu shot's always been an issue because there are a small number of people who are allergic to it, and they do horrible things. And I have a patient who is that way. And she got a flu shot, which they forced her to have at her employment, and she fell
flu
down.
shot?
A flu shot. Yeah.
I didn't know any employer required a flu shot.
Oh, a lot of them do. And she fell down on the floor in a seizure.
Good Lord.
And had to be hospitalized for 24 hours.
So he was talking about pregnant women in the flu shot. So is that something? I mean, what does that do to the embryo? Or I don't want to say embryo, but
they don't know.
Fetus.
Fetus. There you go. Sorry.
Yeah, they don't know.
Hey, Travis.
Yeah.
They don't know. You know why they don't know?
Because they haven't tested it.
Because they haven't tested it.
Yeah.
And they don't have to tell you if they don't test it.
Well, and even if they do test it, and then they find out that they would be illogical for them to not give it to everybody, and then they just give it to everybody.
That test will just go away.
I already talked about that.
Hang on. Well, and
I got that
and let me
document right
tell
here.
you, the pharmaceutical companies are no friends of mine. They never have been, and the people that work for the pharmaceutical companies. And I've told you this story several times before. When I went to my 50th anniversary in February of this year, I was sitting next to a guy who was about 2 years ahead of me in residency. And he seemed to be a nice enough guy at the time, and I enjoyed talking to him. But he started talking about the vaccines that they're making at the particular pharmaceutical company that he works for.
Pfizer. You're not one to say, are you? Never.
I will not say that.
Okay.
It could be, Merck.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, no, brought to you by
But
Pfizer.
They are putting COVID, RSV, and flu all in one shot to give to these 68, 67 people over 65 years like me. And my physician at the latest visit said, "Oh, they've got a new shot for that." And I ripped in a new one right there. And I told him about talking to this guy from a pharmaceutical company. The guy, after I wiped him across the floor a couple of times.
Is he the one that left his breakfast?
He left his breakfast and walked away.
Okay, so here's what I got. I had a guy arguing with me, same guy that was arguing about the light story, was arguing to me that that Elon Musk really hasn't done anything for humanity. Him saving Twitter and making it a free speech platform is really not that important.
SpaceX has done more than NASA has done.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm just arguing on the one thing here.
Sorry. Okay.
Who rescued the astronaut?
He said, you have a podcast and you're allowed to say what you want. I said, excuse me, sir. We've had multiple podcasts taken down off YouTube talking about the very things that we're talking about right now. You cannot talk about vaccines and question vaccines on YouTube. It will get taken down. Mm-hmm. Google and YouTube is the biggest index of content on the internet. It's what most things are pulled from.
Absolutely.
It's where AI will destroy humanity because we are not being told the truth about light. We're not being able to hear the truth about vaccines. We're not being able to hear the truth about alternative treatments that are outside of Big Pharma. We are being lied to at scale.
I've been seeing a lot of Reddit too, by the way.
Sir, you're wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I have to say to this gentleman.
Yeah,
I got one more.
There's a lot of censorship.
He did grab his ass and go running off.
Well, he just
disappeared.
He's giving it.
There's a lot of censorship out there right now.
Typical nonsense.
I'm really hoping that Elon creates his own video platform. If he could his own search engine, his own video platform. He's got his own social media now.
I tell you, there's very little. There's very little censorship that's going on in Meta these days because.
Android Zuckerberg.
They know it's coming. It's coming soon.
Zuck got knocked down hard.
He's trying to work with Trump too. You heard that? Anyway, I'm not getting into politics.
I've got two political things to talk about. Oh, damn it!
8 or 9 months ago, I would get censured on Instagram once a month, something like that.
I thought you were put in Facebook jail quicker than that.
The tide has changed. Yeah. The tide is changing, ladies and gentlemen.
I've never been put in Facebook jail.
Really?
Yeah.
Which jail were you in?
You just don't know it, Dr. Roy.
Yeah.
You just don't know it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So what they do is they just flip a switch and no one sees it. So you'll post
That's
something.
Weird how that works.
You post something you think I'll just get a few likes or I'll get 20 and no one sees it. I ask people, did you see it? No.
Yeah.
It just goes away. I got another clip.
I got deprogrammed from the original Twitter because I was a Trump supporter.
Yeah, I got blown off the original Twitter myself. Not in a good way.
I didn't like the original Twitter. I'm actually in love with it now. Anyway.
Percent wrong and repeated big pharma propaganda. And so here's what Bobby Kennedy actually thinks about vaccines. You ready?
Okay, so, I think most people don't know what my stance is on vaccines. I've never been anti-vaccine. And I've said that hundreds and hundreds of times, but it doesn't matter. Because that is a way of silencing me. Using that pejorative to describe me is a way of silencing or marginalizing me. My position on vaccines, I think, virtually every American would agree with my stance on vaccines, which is that vaccines should be tested like other medicines. They should be safety tested. And unfortunately, vaccines are not safety tested. They're not. Of the 72 vaccine doses now mandated, essentially mandated, they're recommended, but they're really mandated, are American children. None of them, not one, has ever been subject to a pre-licensing placebo-controlled trial.
Yes, they have.
No.
Yes, they have.
Okay, let me just say
arguing with
is that Crystal herself? Yes, they have. Yes,
no,
they
it's
have.
Not Crystal. Who is that?
That's a news host. I think her name is Elizabeth Vargas, I think, on News Nation, which used to be.
She never checked. She's never checked.
She's never checked
all
this.
These dumb shit libs have never
just
looked into it.
Just like Crystal
They're
Ball.
Just mainstream.
Just like Crystal Ball and Malibu Kyle. None of them have looked into this. None of them have checked. But so how's Bobby going to school this woman and Crystal Ball? Watch.
Dr. Fauci and many other people for many years said this, that Bobby Kennedy, when he says that, is wrong. So I met with Dr. Fauci in 2016, and I agreed to go on Trump's Vaccine Safety Commission, and I was with Aaron Siri and Lynn Redwood and a number of other people, and we said to him, can you show us one test from any vaccine, pre-licensing safety test? And he said, I'll send it to you. I can't find one now. He never did. So we sued him. We sued Aaron Siri and I sued HHS. And after a year of litigation and stonewalling, they said that they could not provide a single safety study for any vaccine that is on the childhood schedule, pre-licensing safety study. So anybody who wants to read that can go to the Children's Health Defense website, and you can read HHS's admission that not a single one has ever been safety tested pre-licensing. Now,
he's
what
checking
I've
Bitcoin.
said is other medicines are required to do that. And we should have to do that for vaccines.
And he's flipping me off simultaneously.
Show me the test. Show me the study.
Anyway, so before you make a comment on this, which is basically just beating a dead horse at this point, but I needed to beat this dead horse because I will not go quietly. There's a reason why this man has been elevated to the space that he is in the medical realm, and I had to have a little song here, man. Maybe.
Well, which man are you talking about? Fauci or RFK?
What happened?
I haven't changed your audio.
What you're supposed to be hearing right now.
Okay, hang on. Is your audio down? Like, what's your volume level?
Might be playing. Oh, never mind. It's me. I'm jacked up. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
So I like RFK Jr. I like a lot of what he has to say. And that woman, no, they're not. No, they're not.
Hey,
being the new kid in town.
town.
I'm really hoping he does some great stuff for us.
That's the song. That's the song. Yeah. Well, let me just tell you, he has written several books. He's obliterated Fauci at every level, and there is no lawsuit coming back to him. There's nothing that has.
How is Fauci still walking the street?
Well, he hopefully ends up.
He is retired.
He disappeared.
And he's working for Keebler making cookies.
He's going to be in Guantanamo, I hope, honestly.
He killed a lot of people. My grandmother died alone because of him.
Well, of course.
She didn't die because of him. She didn't have COVID.
A lot of grandmothers died alone of COVID or of something else. And
Fridays at 3 o'clock, I could see her on a tablet for an hour. And my family, we would all chime into like a... what's that app? Zoom. We would all have a Zoom meeting for an hour, and I'd get to see her. And they didn't let us go into she was in a nursing home facility. They didn't let us go back in there until she was already unconscious and at death's door. Then I could go in and hold her hand, but she had no. I mean, she knew I was there, but
if you talked to her, she knew.
Oh yeah, anyway.
Well, these are the things that we can't forget, gentlemen, because they're going to get memory hold, and this is another danger of using AI too much. And they're going to want us to forget everything that happened. They're going to just want to breeze right over it, like they always do in media. They just, when the narrative doesn't fit, look back to every attack that has ever been made on Trump, back to Russiagate, back to whatever. They don't ever come and say, "Oh well, we got this story wrong. We're really sorry." Blah blah blah. They just move to the next thing and they forget about it. And that's what they're going to try to do with COVID and going to try to do with the vaccines. The team that we have in place right now, to me, is going to set the story straight. In my opinion,
I thought all of this stuff was going to take place during Trump's first administration, and it never did.
I don't think it was ready. I think COVID had to happen, Dr. Roy.
Yeah.
As bad as COVID was, and I'm sorry that you had to deal with that with your grandmother. So many people suffered. People died of COVID because of bad treatments. People died without family and lonely, not because of COVID necessarily.
She died of loneliness.
Well, yeah. So I mean, there's so many. We've talked about our kids just for a minute on everything that they had to deal with the shutting down, the masking. What have we lost? What have we done to generations of? We can never forget this. This is one of those moments in time where COVID, terrible, but it put a spotlight on something. It's always going to be something. Why didn't Trump do something about it? I don't think he could have. No one would believe half the shit that we're hearing right now and seeing right now if we haven't been lied to at the level we've been lied to with COVID. Well, it makes everything else possible.
It did open up a lot of eyes.
No doubt about it. That's why I'm here today. I'm doing this podcast because of it.
Yeah. Sure. And I agree with that. And I am just concerned that nowadays, even though we've got a much heavier load of hitters up, that we're going to get shut down exactly like we were in the first Trump administration.
Well, I don't think I think we have a team that's. I don't think that with Twitter, as long as other governments aren't allowed.
Twitter is the one because that is the place to get stuff.
Well, we can go after Google right now. We can go after the other companies because we know.
Well, they're already going after.
Well, Facebook
Google.
and Zuck have already jumped in line.
Yeah.
He knows what's coming because he knows what happened at Twitter. So I think we're going to see a realignment, and what we need to force. To me, we've talked about it from the very first episode. Is we humanity, we the people, need control of AI content. We need to have our own databases storing all information that we can hear the good, bad, the ugly, the stuff that offends people. We need to hear it all to get the truth. We need to be able to hear it all. We don't need governments telling us what we can and can't see. We just don't need it. We don't want our kids seeing stuff. We can put filters on stuff to our kids don't see it. We need the raw data. We need to be able to look at it and say, do we agree with this or not? Do we need to have a conversation about it or not? Doc, I'm going to get right into standard of care. I got two more other topics that I want to hit before we get into politics, which is going to be a fun one. We might go a little bit over, but I'm going to try to speed through, talk real fast. Okay, I'm going to cut Dr. Roy off.
Demonstrable benefits.
I think there's a lot of good doctors that are MDs and a lot that are DOs, but I think that the ones that graduate, I don't think they I'm trying to think how to say that. They don't graduate from medical school being great doctors. It's what they do after they graduate. When they graduate from medical school, all they are is pill pushers. Uh-huh. It's what they do after they graduate from medical school that makes them either a great doctor or a drug dealer.
I agree with you, but I would point out that there's also now a built-in structure that disrupts doctors who might otherwise become good doctors in their practice. And it travels under the heading of standard of care. And so the idea is that standards of care are handed down by our broken medical institutions. And a doctor is put in a terrible predicament if they have a patient in front of them and they think that they know what it is that they're supposed to do, which is either what they're supposed to do matches the standard of care, in which case they are safe doing it, or it doesn't match the standard of care, in which case they put themselves in danger. And so the problem is that the standard of care effectively overrides medical judgment, which is exactly what you're talking about, the development of that medical judgment, overseeing many different cases and discovering what actually works. You can't violate the institution. So effectively, doctors become pill pushers because to do anything other than the standard of care would put them in jeopardy of their license and legal judgments.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of doctors that, I mean, if all they do is follow standard of care, I might as well just get a robot.
Right.
Or use Dr. Google.
And that's where we're headed.
What's the protocol for standard of care for a sore throat?
That is where we are. Dr. Roy, give me your gut reaction to what he just said.
Oh, my God. My heart is thumping. Y'all, I tell you what.
Tell me what.
I'll tell you this. I spent my entire medical career walking on the edge. I was not only one who would not go with the typical standard of care because it was bullshit, but I was also rewriting the standards of care based upon my experience as a critical care physician for 10 odd years. And I was always considered a renegade in even in medical school.
So,
when I was a first year medical school, when I went back for my reunion this time, one of the young ladies, or not young ladies, but lady who graduated with me said, "You were always a renegade, Roy." And I said, "Yeah, I sure was."
I need to cue the Renegade song.
That's what I'm thinking of. Oh, mama.
Yeah. Two things here real quick. Dr. Roy is accepting a few new patients. He's promised me to buy me endless Bitcoin if he gets to a certain number of patients.
How about just one? We're almost to 100,000. We're not there
just
yet.
a Bitcoin. It's fine. But seriously, Dr. Roy is a great doctor. He is accepting new patients. What you should like about him is he is not a standard of care doctor. He will spend time with you. He'll get to know you. He'll figure you out. He will listen to you. He will not just follow status quo. He's going to evaluate what's going on. He's going to recognize when new things come onto the market or bad things might be happening with a vaccine or with this or that, and he's going to give it critical evaluation, which is what you're not going to get from a standard doctor because they have to follow standard of care because they're within major organizations. They can't step outside of those lines because they'll get deplatformed, as you already heard the clip earlier in the podcast where the guy got his medical license taken away because
just for a study
because he spoke truth.
Yeah, just a study.
Dr. Roy is not afraid of any of that. So if you need a doctor, please reach out to him. The next thing I'm going to say, just to stack on top of that, is this is what the Kennedy Dream Team is here for.
Dream Team, I like that.
To me, the medical side, the Make America Healthy Again has to. And we could spend a whole podcast on it. We could spend probably 10 podcasts on how do we fix this, Dr. Roy? How can we take the golden handcuffs off and the golden duct tape off quickly? The best way to rip off a Band-Aid is fast, right?
You got it.
So I don't want every person to have to come to you. I want you to get filled up and have as many patients as you want, which is not too many, just enough to keep you busy and not
15.
Not bugging Patty.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm saying. Humanity needs the duct tape and the handcuffs removed. Either we're part of the conversation and figuring out how that's going to work. You can be solo guy like Dr. Roy and stick your neck out there, and it's probably not always been easy for him because he's not followed the path, but he has a clear conscience. He doesn't have to follow this trash that we're being shipped. So I'm just curious about what the dream team is going to do. I don't want to speculate or spend too much time on it today because I really do believe we could spend a lot of time on it, but I thought that was a good one.
Well, I when I still had my large practice, I talked to people who worked at one or the other of the two big health systems in town.
You weren't affiliated with either one?
No.
You were just by yourself?
I was not employed by either one.
Yeah.
I was somewhat affiliated with both of them in that I could send patients there. I could use their facilities to get things and that sort of thing.
MRIs and testing and stuff.
If I had a patient who was sick, I had written orders with the hospitalist groups at both places to take care of my patients. Okay. But I would sit and talk to a guy who was, handcuffed. And that's where I developed the golden handcuffs and the golden duct tape. And he would tell me about what was coming from on high. And some of the people who were making these decisions for him were not even physicians. They were people with a degree in healthcare administration. And guess what?
What?
I'm a physician, and I also have a master's degree in healthcare administration.
Yeah. So, Dr. Roy, somehow, some way, I think you and I may have to start shaking things up locally a little bit more than we are.
Well,
we're kind of focusing at the big picture most of the time, right?
Yeah.
When we kind of spotlight in on some things about local. I'm not gonna promote you anymore today.
Yeah.
Until I get a partial Bitcoin. Or until I get some orange blue light blocking glasses.
Oh, I can give you the orange blue light blocking
right now.
Adapters. No, not right now.
Okay, well, I'm not promoting you anymore today.
Yeah.
People reach out to him. So we got two other things to get to real quick, and I'm trying to blast through them because I do want to get to politics.
You don't have to.
Do you want to? No. There's a big one. There's some big stuff we need to talk about.
Yeah.
So fluoride is something that we've been talking about.
Sure.
And also statins we haven't touched yet. And that's the thing. Both of those are really important to me.
I can make it real quick on the fluoride. Get the shit out of the drinking water.
Hey, we got him to our side. Yeah. Dr. Ruse coming on board. There is actually a product that I've just ordered. And so maybe I might shelf this one. I'm going to play this clip from Dr. Jack, I think here. I don't believe we've seen it yet.
People and extending Becker's work just about to every single organ in the body and showing you how we use, as you said before, the absorption spectra and the emission spectra of proteins to create signaling chains in us that describe how it works. And one of the key ones was actually the melanopsin system, which is the blue light system. That was the system that was weaponized by the government in MK Ultra. That's what, Danny Jones wanted to spend a lot of time talking about, how it linked to big technology.
And I want to bring in fluoride too. Let me just put that in your mind here about fluoride, because a lot of people understand the role of fluoride in mental submission, but you have a much bigger story about light.
You need that Bitcoin hat, Roy.
Achieving that.
Yeah, well, you got to know a little bit about fluoride. Most people don't know that besides being a neurosurgeon, I used to be an oral surgeon. So I have a dental degree too. So I know a lot about fluoride. I learned a lot about it a long time ago. But what fluoride fundamentally does, it's a group 7 element, and it's the most electronegative element on the periodic table. So what does that mean? It has a voracious appetite for electrons. And it turns out it absorbs electrons and doesn't let them go. And if you know anything about semiconduction, you can't have semiconduction in your body if your electrons are bound up in fluoride. Fluoride has another interesting effect. It's a dielectric blocker to water. So when you put fluoride in water in a cell, it completely ruins the semiconduction in your body, which is fundamentally why this is an issue. And the reason why this is a big deal, it goes back to some of the things that I talked about with Danny when General Groves after the Manhattan Project began. People forget that the Manhattan Project was called Manhattan because it started on the 67th floor of the Empire State Building. And what happened before Midway is the United States military was decimated in the Pacific by Pearl Harbor. They barely got out of Midway alive, but they had nobody to look at the docks in New York. And it turned out there was a lot of reports that General Groves got that the Germans were sending U-boats into New York Harbor and releasing spies in there. And it turned out that Groves gave the idea to FDR. He said, why don't we turn this over to somebody who patrols the docks in New York? And it turned
I don't want to go any deeper into that. That's a long clip. All these clips are going to be in the show notes, but this basically is the fluoride story for me that I want to continue telling until locally, Dr. Roy, maybe we go on a campaign to get rid of, we need to get somebody in the water department that will listen to us.
Oh, they won't listen to us. Not even the new guy will
okay, well then we need to get new people.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. And I don't care. I don't care who hears that.
I saw your post about the journalism to keep information on.
Yeah, so you're looking for maybe a subscription base to, if you want people that are doing really what used to be guerrilla journalism, or what I forgot the term that I used.
I can't think of what you used.
Anyway, you want people that are out asking tough questions and are not out making friends. And our media, local media, all across the country has been basically, I don't know if it's paperclip or what the operation was, but if you've ever seen one of those clips where it shows thousands of local news reporters from all the country saying the exact same thing at the exact.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That
watchdog.
Watchdog journalism. So we need people that are looking at our water, checking it for not just fluoride, but checking it for any birth control leftovers, pharmaceutical products. I mean, it's real, right?
Sure,
We're battling all these things in society, and we don't know what hormones are coming through. We don't know all the stuff that's leaching into our daily lives, and so it's a serious thing. And we're at the point where I don't think we should ignore it.
We need somebody like Laura Loomer to come up here and
who's Laura Loomer?
Oh, you don't know? Man, she's a crazy woman, but she's definitely been...
So fit in with us then.
She's been on the right side every time. She's definitely a MAGA person.
Okay.
And has been writing stuff. She's been arrested 2 or 3 times.
I'm going to tell you, I'm getting ready to pivot. I'm going to start being very critical of MAGA.
Yeah. Why?
Because we got to hold them accountable.
Yeah, sure.
It's not the time to rest. This is the time to go full throttle.
Yeah.
And to make sure that they're doing the stuff that they said they're going to do.
Yeah.
I got another clip. We might skip through this one. I don't remember how this is queued up, but I know it's affiliated to what we were talking about here.
Obviously. But people should start thinking about nasal hygiene and oral hygiene, not just, for the little bit of it, but think of all of the pathogens that enter your body, and where do 90+% of them enter through? They enter through your mouth and your nose.
Yeah.
So we should be very hyper-focused on making sure that those gateway microbiomes are very well balanced, that they're in a state of eubiosis balance. Because if they are, you're not going to get sick nearly as much, and you're going to save a crap ton of money.
Yeah. A minimal intervention that seems to correct a distortion of modernity is...
And one other thing, if anybody anybody knows, can... one of the University of Michigan did a dental school, going back to the dental aspects of it, where they went down to Belize and they gave kids 3 pieces of gum a day, xylitol. 1 in the morning when they came to class, 1 after lunch, 1 before when they went home. And the kids that used the xylitol gum changed that microbiome, and they had a negative incidence of tooth decay during the time of the study. The biggest thing is that the University of Washington right here, they went back down there, I want to say a decade after, many years after. I think it was a decade. But they went back down and looked at those kids in the study. And even after the study had been over for years, the kids that had used the xylitol gum still had over 80% fewer cavities. Because you're changing the microbiome.
Yeah.
You're actually treating the illness as opposed to just saying, okay, let's make your teeth harder and let the bacterial infection fester.
So this podcast will be shared in the show notes. I wanted to share that clip simply because I'm not just here attacking fluoride people. I care about healthy teeth. I want our teeth to be strong. The story that this guy is telling with Brett is the story of xylitol. His whole practice is about replacing fluoride basically with xylitol, and xylitol fixes the teeth rather than just hardening from the outside. It solves the problems from within inside.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too deep into it.
I'm very aware of that.
Yep.
The other thing that they mentioned just briefly was nasal hygiene.
Mm-hmm. He's got spray.
And because I'm, that's part of the respiratory system, and I'm a respiratory person who knows a whole lot about things. I push real hard for people to use iodine spray in their noses.
He talks about that, Dr. Roy. You need to I think you need to dig into this episode. I think you will find it super inquisitive and thought-provoking. He has a whole line of products. So as you know, for us, I'm trying to align with companies that we can say, we use these things.
Yeah.
Here's why we use them. We're not just trying to sell things. If we can make a little money and buy Travis his next bottle of bourbon or some blue
As
blocking.
you can see, a bottle of bourbon doesn't get me very far.
Another lie.
Blue blocking. I mean, so for us, it's really just about making this platform better where we can bring more information and try to expose some truth along the way. But anyway, I want you to really dig into this guy. I've ordered two products. I've ordered some gum.
A link to that.
Well, next episode, what we'll do, I'll bring the products and I'll show you. I'll send you the link now beforehand.
Yeah.
But I'll bring the products that I purchased, which I bought some gum, and I think I got toothpaste.
You can buy xylitol gum all over now.
Yeah. So I mean, I this is the first phase for me with really situation. I don't want to just attack fluoride and have people say, "What are you going to do about tooth health?" Well, let's fix the root problem. Let's not just harden the teeth from the outside.
Brush your teeth. If you brush your teeth,
you don't need water in the fluoride.
Yeah.
You mean fluoride in the water?
Whatever.
Or water in the fluoride.
I've only had one bourbon.
Yeah, I've had like 3 or 4.
Yeah. I haven't had any, but I'm beyond help now because I've lost 50% of my teeth to decay and gum problems.
So this could be a cautionary tale, Dr. Roy. This can be you saying, okay, I don't want what happened to me, just similar to what we talk about with the COVID journey that you went on. You could be a cautionary tale of there's a better way. We're now getting information. The problem with guys like this prior to open platforms that would come in and cancel dentists is they have to all get in the institutional thinking is we have to follow the standard of care. You have to, there needs to be fluoride in the water. Yeah, of course there does. Well, it comes from the high holy and you can't question it. When you question it, you get canceled and you get your license removed.
Right.
That shit's got to stop. Right. That's what we're here to stop. Okay, Okay, so one more, and then we're going to get right into politics. Where are we at? We're right at 2 hours in, right?
Yeah.
We're about hour 52.
Okay, so me and Dr. Roy have, I've got 2 clips on statins because I've got multiple family members who are on statins. They've bothered me forever. I don't like them. And
the family member or statins?
What?
You said they bothered
family members or the statins?
I like my family members mostly.
Oh, okay.
Mostly.
All right, good deal.
I don't know. This must not be a clip. This must just be okay. So
you can read it.
I will. Can I read it?
You're stepping into one of the holiest of the holy things in medicine is statins.
I know
because who makes statins?
Pfizer. I don't know. I just want to say Pfizer.
Yeah.
Pfizer.
Pfizer.
We need to put that. We need to get a button and get
on the
soundboard.
Yeah. Pfizer. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This message is brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah.
All right.
Statins are destroying your brain and your body.
When you actually understand what cholesterol is, it is one of the most vital substances in the human body.
Do you
have
want to
no life,
believe
you have no
Brit?
cell form without cholesterol. It is that vital to the human body, and that is not up for debate.
We won
so
the
the chemical
Revolutionary
formula
War.
for cholesterol is C27H460. So again, if your doctor says to you, oh, your good cholesterol is this and your bad cholesterol is that, I'd just be so tempted to say, please can you tell me the chemical formula for good cholesterol and then tell me the chemical formula for bad cholesterol. Make them realise the insanity of what they're saying to you. to. I also personally do not think that lowering cholesterol with statins is a good idea. And I've seen extreme cases of debilitation of people being on these drugs. Dwayne Graveline wrote a brilliant book, Lipitor, Thief of Memory. He was an astronaut. He was put on statins by his doctor. He couldn't remember where he'd left his car in the car park. Came off statins, everything went back okay, was persuaded to go back on them, the same thing happened. And if you are one of the people who will benefit, and most won't, you might get 3 or 4 days in 5 years. Almost everyone would throw their statins away.
When we talk about a high-fat diet, people think lots of butter, a stick of butter. Why is that maybe not a good idea?
I mean, that's a problem for a number.
So I'm gonna. We haven't gotten
talk about tooth health. The Brits do not have tooth health, really.
Oh no, that's
hers don't look too bad. Yeah. Anyway, I am. We haven't dug nearly enough into statins, but as my parents are aging, my mom doesn't talk to me much about what particular medicines she's on. I know what my dad's on, and he is definitely on statins.
I did it.
Well,
I gave him the statins.
All right.
So
all right. So there's two things. There's two things. I want to get to the bottom of it, and I think now is that window of time. Not today. Not today now, but this window of time we have where we can open up the hood and demand some real answers. Is I want all of it. I want to know what statins potentially do, the side effects, the risk reward.
Yeah,
I want it all plastered out there for the world to see, and then we can just have an open debate about it.
I have no idea what statins do.
They're supposed to lower your cholesterol, which is supposed to improve your longevity.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, there is no statistical analysis or studies that actually
wrong.
Okay, that aren't from pharma.
Yeah.
That say the statins prolong life. I have not seen one that I feel that
they
sways
don't
me.
prolong life. What they do is they.
We need that too. Polio, get your polio vaccine.
Oh dear God! They don't say that they prolong your life. They say that they prevent cardiac arrhythmias or cardiac death.
Okay, Dr. Roy, let's get down this rabbit hole real quick. Okay. I just pulled up a PubMed. I am going to read this. The effect of HMG CoA reductase inhibitors on cognition in patients with Alzheimer's dementia.
No, that's cognition. That's not heart.
Just deal with me.
That's what we were talking about.
Just hang with me here.
We were talking about heart.
Okay.
I thought statins were for the brain, though.
No, they're for the heart.
Like dementia.
They're for the heart. So,
my bad.
So the cure cannot be worse than when you're 78 years old and your heart is relatively healthy and you've never had a heart problem, or you're taking something that could fuck up your brain relatively quickly.
Watch your language.
This makes me mad because this is the friction that we need, and this is the conversation that needs to be had. You have to take certain things away at certain times of life. When did we say you need to get on statins and then you just got to be on statins the rest of your life? Maybe there's a curve that happens where, okay, now the risk of your heart disease, your heart failing you is not as great as your brain failing you because the statins are flipping a switch in you that screws up your brain. This is the thing that we don't have information on.
Yeah, but I was going to say, if you can prove that to me, then I will agree that you stop statins at 75. And
whatever the time.
Guess who's 75 years old?
So when does so this is a conversation that needs to be had, a longer conversation. Like Alzheimer's starting earlier and earlier. It's showing, and dementia is showing itself in earlier and younger patients.
We don't know that because there were plenty of demented patients back in the 1800s. They had not billions but millions of them in mental institutions. You just never saw them in public. A lot of those were due to syphilis, not necessarily, but
that's not happening today though. There's not an outbreak of syphilis as a cause.
Not that I'm aware of. not right.
We'll see what happens when we leave here.
I was at this frat party the other day.
And hopefully your wife is tuned out by now.
Yeah, no.
But that's the thing. You say that there were never any people with dementia back then. There were lots of people with dementia. They just put them away in institutions, and you didn't see them out in the.
Okay, let me make this just pointed. I don't trust pharma any further than I can throw both of you.
Neither do I.
Okay,
I'm a pretty big boy,
and the fact that this is one of the mainstays of their ongoing. We got to get you on this now.
No, it's GLP-1.
There's no way to there's no way to fix you. You can't fix it through light. You can't fix it through diet. You just have to go on this thing and be on it forever. That's the problem I have with it, Doc.
It's the be on it forever.
That's a problem.
I don't agree with.
So that's where you and I could probably come to a point like, okay, you've been tested. I think you need this statin. Okay, let's weigh what the statins may or may not do for you. What's the pros, the cons? Let's look at all. Let's splash it on a thing. You could get these 20 different things, and you could live 5 days longer or 5 years longer. Let's look at all that, okay? Then let's have the timeline about when we have to start weighing other things. And like, let's say you as a doctor should be able to go in with this, pull up an image and say, here's what we've did all these trials, and this is where we think you should start, and this is where you should stop, because then we're going to start dealing with these other things. Like, it's just the studies that have never continued because pharma is not forced to do it. They're not forced to continue looking at data. They're not forced to say...
Or it's because they got rid of a control group by hitting a certain efficacy.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that you and I are going to keep...
All right. I'm going to take issue with that. There is a moral reason that you stop
to blow up a control group?
To blow up a control group.
Okay.
When you find out that the people in the control group are dying faster than the people in the group that you're giving the medicine to, then you have a moral responsibility to break that up immediately. And they do that all the time.
I don't disagree with you.
Who's in control of the study and who's in control of the control group?
I don't disagree with you, but the control group getting it imploded kind of throws off the entire thing, doesn't
it? It does, but there is a moral problem if you say...
That's a big but.
That's exactly what they did.
He's hitting a message here that we need to know that he gets hit over the head with as a doctor all the time.
Yeah.
And he's not alone. So this is where the crux is probably the hinge pin in all of it.
Yeah. Do you guys remember hearing about the Tuskegee syphilis?
Oh yeah,
we've talked about it a few times.
We've talked about it before. Yeah. They never stopped. The people the syphilis people who had syphilis, they let them continue to go on until they died.
Sure.
Whereas the people who were being treated for syphilis, they stopped, and that's fine. But they never stopped, and that's the whole crux of now. You have a moral responsibility that if the people who are in the control group are suffering more than the people who are in the station group that gets the medicine, then you have a moral responsibility to stop the test immediately.
Okay, so
that's how they jacked up the COVID.
Test, So we got two different things going on here. We got off the statin thing, which I'm just going to put a
no.
It's that's part of statins.
No, it's not. I'm going to put a footnote in it because I feel like you've got this.
You don't know. You've never taken a statin. You've never prescribed a statin.
I was tried to be. I've almost been
on Staten Island.
I had a certain doctors say you should be on a statin, and I refused.
That bald motherfucker.
Whoa!
I will say that I did refuse that particular thing,
and that's okay. If you want to refuse it, drop dead when you're 60.
Concierge doctors, you can't take them anywhere.
He just doesn't want to give me my damn Bitcoin. I know where this is going.
It's almost $100,000.
Now he says, no, you can't have statins anymore because I want you to die.
$1 worth of Bitcoin. How's that sound?
Hey, if it's doubling, I don't care. It's going to be better than yesterday.
Yeah. All right, but that's the thing about you can't blame them for stopping the test because they have a moral responsibility.
I mean, I get that, but they didn't throw us off the entire test. Like, at that point, that's what they did with COVID. They said that, okay, they're to a point of efficacy where now we've got to give this to everybody, and now we don't know whether or not COVID shots are worth a shit or not.
Yeah, and I want to look at other countries, Doc, and I want to say, what countries aren't using statins at all? And,
Sorry, I'm on COVID. You're on statins.
How are they not all dying of heart disease?
If you want to take Great Britain as an example,
they have terrible teeth.
They have terrible teeth, and they have a terrible medical system.
We got a lot of tyranny too, but let's not.
Well, yeah, the tyranny's even worse.
The tyranny is actually. Why did we leave? I don't know. We left because of the tyranny. Anyway.
But nevertheless, the
perfect cue right into politics.
The number of the number of heart attacks in Great Britain is considerably higher than the prevalence, not the number, because Great Britain only has 40 million people in it, and we've got 300 million.
Yeah. So,
the prevalence is somewhat greater because once somebody reaches the age of 75, the medications and the medical group don't do anything. If somebody develops, for example, kidney failure, and they're more than 65 years old, they do not get dialysis. They are sent home to die.
I haven't
in England, in Great Britain,
England, in Great Britain.
I haven't asked Dr. Jack, Uncle Jack, Dr. Jack, whatever I'm gonna call him, about statins, but I think he's probably got some information on it. I'm gonna. I wanted to just throw that out there because I feel like we've been running past it, and I've promised my dad that I'm looking at what he's taking. We're talking about a methylene blue. We're talking about getting him on a program to help his brain.
Sure.
And I'm bringing up statins because I think there's enough anecdotal evidence that I need to either rule it out and say, I think you probably should just stick it out, and stay on statins.
I've got a tingle in my.
Stop talking about your tingle
because it's anecdotal. Moo. Ooh.
All right, we're gonna open it up. Questions from the audience.
Am I the audience? At
you
this
are
point?
the audience, and Travis has been very patient with me and Dr. Roy going down our medical realm here, and he's got some.
That's right. They took my knife away.
Yeah, there's a reason. I got the gun and the knife on this side.
You actually gave your knife away, to be honest.
Well, that's because he couldn't get the liquor open.
Yeah, you're welcome, Travis.
Yeah, I enjoyed the liquor. Don't get me wrong.
You'll never figure out how to close. Oh, you did. How about that?
He has zero confidence in you.
I've played with a knife or two in my life, Dr. Roy. All right. So Travis came armed and dangerous today.
I don't want to say armed. I just want to see your guys' kind of take on
you're
a couple
always
things.
Dangerous.
That's true.
You're not as dangerous as Caitlin Clark is, but she is dangerous. Let me tell you, she passes if she gets the ball. As soon as she gets the ball, she's dangerous.
I've got to say, she's probably the main WNBA person that I know is Caitlin Clark.
Well, she's turned around the WNBA totally. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I don't know how we got in that rabbit hole. Anyway,
Doc,
bring it, Travis.
The things I want to talk about eventually, or at some point, right now is the point is one, the pardon of Hunter Biden. How do we feel about the pardon of Hunter Biden? 10 years. It went back to 2014. 10 years.
How do you feel?
How do I feel?
Yeah.
I feel like I've been raped.
So I've read a lot of things about this situation. And a lot of it has to do with, or a lot of what is being said is that he did this to keep from the incoming administration to really try to go after Hunter, or to try to go after Hunter, and honestly, Joe.
Him. Yeah.
The whole family.
Yeah, the whole
uncles
family.
and everything are implicated.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a big conflict of interest.
It is. It's the first time in history that a president has pardoned a member of his family. The absolute first time that he has done that. You know, LBJ didn't do that. I mean, not even some of the crazy guys back in the early part of the century.
The part that bothers me mostly is we've known that Biden, either with help of CIA and a part of his his whole thing with Ukraine, because where I want to give Biden a little bit of a pass, I don't give any politicians pass, and I don't mean this any way real, but the CIA controls the entire institute, like all the institutions. They control every single person in Congress. They control every single thing that they can and can't say, they can and can't do, period. The end. Stop. He has played the game. He got inserted into Ukraine. He is playing.
Who's he?
He's
Hunter
Biden.
Hunter Biden.
Well, Joe.
Not Joe.
Well, Hunter only got in there because Joe inserted him in there, and it was a pay to play deal. And it's basically our CIA playing chess and trying to control governments. So
trying to control the Ukrainian government.
Trying to control. Well, ultimately trying to control the Russian government.
Yeah.
So they're in there basically playing psyops and trying to manage governments through inserting people like Joe Biden into the fray. Hunter is kind of, I don't want to say he's innocent, but he's really just kind of a not.
I think he's a putz, to be honest. He's just being used.
He is a puppet. I mean, he's a useful
puppet.
he's
There
a
you go.
useful idiot.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden is a slightly higher useful idiot.
Yeah.
I really believe the story is coming down that people are distracted by Joe Biden. People are distracted by Hunter. I'm not as I don't care. It's like when when Trump said he was going to put Hillary in jail. When he said that, he said it to get the reaction. And what did he do about it? Nothing.
Nothing, really.
Yeah. Because, and I think she's probably much more higher up the chain in the problem in the whole thing. I'd say she's probably a deep CIA plant. Biden's just a useful idiot.
Self-suicide, man.
Well, a lot of people die around the Clintons, and it's not by accident. And the people that are dying of pneumonia in their 30s are getting stuff put in their lunch or something. I don't know what's happening, but so I think there's a lot more going on. I'm not as concerned about the pardon,
but I think that helps. I don't want to say de-implicate, but
people need to be held
was
accountable.
Part of the implication. Yeah, there's nobody that being
is maybe hammering the Biden family might tell a story to other families that are trying to get inserted by the CIA. The problem that you have is 30,000 feet above that, meaning the CIA is basically pick and choosing. You don't get to where they get without being put into the grinder. You're not getting these positions of power unless you agree to do and say the things that they're going to do.
Yeah.
So he's a pawn. Okay. So he's only doing what he's been instructed to do, and his family gets a little bit of money on the side. And is that right? No, it's not right. But I don't want to lose sight of what the real problem is, and it's not Hunter and Joe Biden.
I want to throw a red flag right now.
Flag on the play.
The rumor, not the rumor, but the statement has been said that this is not the end of the pardons. There are 47 days left until the inauguration. So there is plenty of time for a whole bunch of other people to be pardoned by this idiot who's sitting in the White House. He thought he was signing Christmas cards.
But by being pardoned, that means they had to be charged with something prior.
Not be charged. You can be pardoned of things that you have not been charged with.
That's why it went back 10 years, right?
Yeah, they went back 10 years. You can be pardoned of, for example, Monica Lewinsky got a pardon.
Monica?
Yeah, she did.
What did she do wrong?
Well, she sucked the wrong guy. Never mind.
Whoa.
I think she did the right one.
Yeah.
She did the right one.
Well, actually, she got a relief that she would not be charged for anything that she had done or said.
Her life was ruined by some scumbags.
Yeah.
So she was done. Whatever the pardon was, I think that's complete horseshit.
Yeah. It wasn't a pardon. It was your wife can probably tell you more about that because
no, that's what I've got a side question for her on that.
But
one.
you can, people can be given relief of all the things that they did if it's a quid pro quo kind of thing. If you're a middle person in a big operation and you've done some things, like you may have even murdered somebody, they will give you a relief from that. They say that we will not charge you for any of these things that you have done or anything else that we do not know about.
Okay, we need to look into that deeper. What I'm going to say is where I think if Trump he's sent several signals out about pardoning all J6 people.
Yes,
I think that needs to happen. And when I say all J6 people, I don't mean all J6 people, because I don't know the story behind each and every one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know which one of the ones that have been charged were any like deep state players, which there was a lot of feds on the grounds that day.
I don't think the deep state players
were at all.
They didn't stay at all. But I'm not talking about
They should be unmasked. Those cases should be opened up.
I'm not talking about the J6 people. I'm talking about
Buffalo Hat.
I'm talking about Pelosi.
Oh.
I'm talking about some of the
Cheney.
other Liz Cheney, the other people, Swalwell, whoever else was on that side, all being pardoned of being charged. You can be pardoned before you're charged.
Okay, so here's where my conspiracy brain is, and I'm going.
Oh, good.
I'm going 30,000 feet above you again.
Yes.
This is not about any individual, Pelosi or whatever. This is about the deep state blob wanting to get rid of Trump. And the J6 was a distraction, and they done this thing.
Isn't it crazy that he won again?
They did it before in another country. They did the same play in another country, and they did it here. They created this big attack on democracy. It's all the media is spreading it out, and it's all Trump. And Trump did this. Trump did that. Simultaneously,
Venezuela.
Simultaneously, they just deplatformed him from Twitter, which was his main voice at the time. He didn't remember, like, he created the social media platform because they hamstrung and devoiced him basically off of Twitter, so he didn't have the reach, so he couldn't say what he wanted to say in an open format. That's why he created Parler or whatever the hell it is that he created.
No, it wasn't Parler.
No, it was.
I don't know.
That sounds
something that I'm not using
Parler's
anymore.
Gone anymore.
Truth.
It's gone
truth.
now,
Truth.
but
It's
at
truth.
the time,
yeah, it's truth. Truth. Yeah. Whatever. Truth. Anyway. But the 30,000 foot view to me again is the CIA is playing the same games that we play all around the world in inserting governments. The most recent intermilitary people that are not they're bipartisan are saying the deep state blob, the CIA, our apparatus cannot handle right-wing populism.
Yes,
right-wing populism is a threat to their military-industrial goals.
Well, that's why they're trying to push Pete Hegseth.
Yeah,
Hegseth again.
Yeah,
because they're bringing up all these stories.
They're Kavanaughing. They're doing a Kavanaugh.
They're Kavanaughing because they do not want him to destroy the military-industrial complex.
So this goes back. If you listen to the Jack Kruse things that I've instructed the people that really want to understand this. He says this from the gate. The story of him is about the light, but the story is about uncovering the truth of what's really behind JFK and truly understanding what that story means. Like when you start looking at the tentacles of the octopus and how everything is controlled via narratives, via internet, via these platforms, you have to truly understand where the tentacles are connected. And they are controlling the narratives, and they're throwing people, like you look at Puff Daddy or P. Diddy or whatever the hell his name is. He's a distraction. He's a blip. Epstein was a blip. They're still doing the same things. They still have all this information on people. They're still holding they're tying their golden duct tape in the handcuffs. Well, we've got you on tape with this teenager on Epstein Island, and you got to say what we're going to get you to say.
Yeah.
All of Hollywood's blacked out. They have to say what they're going to say because they're all on these lists. So it's a controlling of the narrative thing. So anyway, I'm sorry. That was a big soapbox rant.
Yeah, but anyway, Marjorie Taylor Greene was posting that she believes that Biden is going to pardon a whole lot more people before he gets out.
Well, if you pardon your son, who nobody's untouchable.
Can I say something that's going to piss you off?
No.
Okay, I'll say it. I'll say it
No,
for next time.
Say it.
No, go ahead and say it.
Well, you're saying no, but
I don't like.
say it.
I don't really like, nor do I trust Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, you're going to piss me off.
Something about something. No, and listen, I have a very good gauge of character.
Yeah.
Something is just not right. Something's not right. I don't know what it is, but something's not right.
She is so much like me.
I like her.
Yeah.
I like the things that she says, but there's something about her. Something about her doesn't resonate with me, and I don't even know what to tell you about it.
Well,
Do you think it's manufactured?
No, I think it's because she is from the South. And, you Yankees...
Could she be a distraction?
I don't think so.
Is she giving the full story all the way to the darkest deep place, or is she giving you just enough to give you friction to pull you back to the right?
Just enough to piss us off.
Just enough to pull you back to the right. That's maybe the thing. So that's why I like Dr. Jack. He goes like, let's go to the root cause of what's really causing this. These people are in control of the narrative, and they're going to make you mad at this person, and they're going to... me saying something bad about Marjorie Taylor is going to make you mad, so now we're going to be fighting about that. We're not.
Yeah.
But I think that's the rub for me. She's just not. She doesn't go the extra layer deep.
Yeah. The people that Trump has placed in the CIA and the FBI are hopefully going to clean that up. But I have a great deal of skepticism about that. And I just don't think he'll be able to do as much as he wants to do.
I'm sure he won't be.
Just like he was unable to do anything back in 2021.
So we need to figure out a way to transition that populist power either to if J.D. Vance turns out to be a real guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he is or not. He's not been tested. It needs to be handed, that torch needs to be handed to somebody that will carry us into that next level of thing. I got a funny clip here that I want to share, and I know you got at least one other thing you wanted to talk about, don't you, Travis?
South Korea.
Okay, I don't probably know as much about that one, but
for
that's
oversight of the U.S.
Bitcoin
of the U.S. State Department. So he's got these international connections. People are constantly pitching him for 40 years. There's a great video. I think you can look it up. If you ever seen Joe Biden bragging about, being a prostitute for the biggest donor.
Have you guys seen this one?
When he turns 40, he was told that at one meeting that for the real big money, he should come back to them when he turns 40. Have you ever seen this? It's a great clip. If you just look up the word prostitute on Biden prostitute on my X account, you can find this.
But this is a great clip. But what
the Biden prostitute
here, Twitter is Twitter. I guess there's a search algorithm inside of each channel. So he references, but this is Mike Benz, who is outstanding. He's on Rogan, but he says you can go to his Twitter channel and just put two keywords together. So he uses keywords and descriptions, and he's able to reference videos, and Jamie's able to pull them up. Yeah. So like if there's little clips of things we want to put, just say, hey, I shared this, and it's just do this and this, and it should pop up. I think that's relevant just from a search and having people find your content that you want them to find.
Basically, Biden Incorporated was running a foreign policy for personal profit operation. I mean, here's a crazy example. Hunter Biden, I believe was, this is great.
I don't think he finishes his thing about Hunter Biden, but this is a great clip.
It died.
No, he didn't.
Assume I'm not corrupt, but I'm thank you for that, though.
That's Joe.
System does produce corruption, and I think implicit in the system is corruption, when in fact, whether or not you can run for public office, it costs a great deal of money to run for the United States Senate, even from a small state like Delaware. You have to go to those people who have money, and they always want something. We were told that we politicians, as the young kids say, rip off the American public. I think the American public, in a way, rips off we politicians by forcing us to run the way they do. To raise $300,000 is no mean feat. And unless you happen to be some sort of anomaly, like myself, being a 29-year-old candidate and can attract some attention beyond your own state, it's very difficult to raise that money from a large group of people. I'm a 29-year-old oddball. The only reason I was able to raise the money is I was able to have a national constituency to run for office. Because I was 29, I'm like the token black or the token woman. I was the token young person. I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it. But what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son.
And he's 80.
Amazing how good he talked back then.
Yeah.
I want you to just comment on that, but that whole podcast with Mike Benz, this just dropped today or
he
yesterday.
Prostitutes himself.
When
he said he did.
So the money that is handed to him through all these back channels is all funded through CIA back channels. I mean, it's all coming through corporate donors and blah 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 blah. But they're basically NGOs. They're non-government organizations that are spreading around dark money.
We're not at 100,000 yet. Oh, we are at 100,000. Holy shit.
101.
Like, give me the like. We're just forgetting the show here. You got to give me some noise or something. I guess Bitcoin just hit a thing.
101.
Whoa!
Almost
I didn't think
102,000 per. It's dropping again.
Dr. Jack has told you guys you need to buy Bitcoin if you haven't already bought Bitcoin.
I have
not you guys. I'm talking about.
We weren't to 100,000 yet.
We still are kind of talking to other people. I think maybe there's one person left.
Yeah.
Mom, are you listening? Buy some Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Hello, mother. So no, what he was. I can't even comment on what.
Do you want to talk about South Korea?
Well, that was the other thing.
Can you put the mic up next to your face?
Oh, there.
There you go.
Do you want to talk about South Korea?
Well, that was the other thing. Martial law.
Yeah, the president, I guess, of South Korea set forth martial law for everyone in the country.
But then the magistrate declined it immediately.
Well, yeah, but you got to remember what happened after he declared martial law. Bitcoin dropped by about $10,000. Now, why do you think? I woke up this morning and my Bitcoin was down, and I said, "What the fuck happened?" And I looked this up, and that's what he did.
Who did that?
The president of South Korea.
Okay. So he's probably going to do a run on Bitcoin. He's trying to lower the price.
Well,
so
I don't know. Who knows? Who knows whether he was trying to do that? He was trying to grab power by doing that, placing martial law so that none of the members of his parliament could do anything about it.
But they immediately shut him down. It was like 126-0 or something.
Yeah, and he is probably going to lose his position for doing that. So
sorry, I'm looking it up.
The moral of this story is that you do not want to start martial law unless you've got the military backing you. And
well, the military rolled in, but then
they didn't stay very long. That's
right,
for sure.
Right. I'm reading.
Okay. Well, hopefully nobody's falling asleep.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make anybody fall asleep. Ultimately, the parliament declined or voted. I'm looking for the numbers. It's like 126-0.
Yeah.
To get rid of to not allow him
to not allow him to do that.
Right. To not allow the martial law. I had a buddy who was in the Air Force, and he went over to he was in South Korea. And there was a big deal about North Korea versus South. Well, at the time, there was a big deal about Russia against Ukraine versus China against Taiwan versus North Korea versus South Korea.
Yeah.
And there was a big concern that all of them would hit at the same time.
Right.
And if they did hit at the same time, the U.S. would not be able to defend all of their fronts at the same time.
They are better equipped to defend South Korea. And South Korea is better equipped than Taiwan or
Ukraine.
Ukraine. Ukraine's getting all this trash stuff from us and from Germany and from Great Britain and all that, but all our stuff it's 102,000 now. I'm just watching.
What are you talking about? Oh, Bitcoin.
The line, it's shooting up pretty heavy, pretty hard. That's awesome. Dr. Roy, is this a good time or a bad time to ask you for some orange blue light blocking glasses?
Your Bitcoin is really taking off.
Sell something short. I mean, we really.
I could. Well, I would not sell Bitcoin at this point.
We can get healthy right in front of people. Dr. Roy is my doctor, and he is not helping me be more healthy right now.
Make America healthy again. America healthy again.
I'll get you some blue red blocking.
Blue red blocking? What? No. I need red. It needs
so I looked it up earlier, by the way. These smart bulbs that I have, or that you can get, apparently can actually block some of that blue light. The wavelength at which that blue light comes across can apparently be mitigated by some of these smart bulbs that exist.
Yeah, I'm about companies making money off this whole thing, but I'm also like a man that believes that poor people and other people can't afford to go out and buy a $30 light bulb for their whole house. So I'm wanting to dig into this product and what the government can do to open up production of things that can make it affordable again.
Sure.
To have the things that we should have.
Affordable? What the hell's affordable?
Yeah. What do you suppose is going on that's causing Bitcoin to go up so fast? Is there a war somewhere?
No, there's some countries that are using Bitcoin as their backed currency.
El Salvador.
That's all they use.
Venezuela.
El Salvador, that's all they use. That's part of the reason why Jack moved there.
Yeah.
I think Venezuela was one of them as well, because
I tried to go ahead.
The Venezuelan dollar was worthless. At some point it was toilet paper.
I tried to talk earlier at lunch today. I tried to talk Dr. Roy into accepting Bitcoin for payment for his medical practice.
Well, actually, one of my previous patients. He's a current patient now. He's a concierge patient.
Well, so he would be your first guy that would do that to you.
Yeah, he did that back in about 2014 or 15.
So we need to look at payment gateways.
How many Bitcoin did he give you?
He didn't give me any Bitcoin.
He tried to talk him into.
He tried to talk me into
accepting Bitcoin. A long time. How long ago was that?
That was in like 2015.
Damn, we should have talked that guy a long time ago. I need that dude on the podcast.
Do you want his name? I'll give you his name.
Just talk to him. He's your like if he wants. He sounds like an intriguing guy.
Well, you know his brother.
No, let's not mention any names.
Do you not remember the video where the dude paid like 5 Bitcoin for somebody to go buy him pizza delivered to his house?
Yeah. That was like when Bitcoin was like $6.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's just nuts.
Was it like 2013 or something like that?
Oh, no, it was
11?
Yeah, it was 2011.
11, I think.
Yeah, I think.
We're cracking into the 2 hour and something minute mark.
Yeah,
we are at 2:31.
Yeah, so we're deep.
We might as well shut her down.
Well, I got one more short clip.
Okay,
and since people are like blowing up all over Doge and like shitting on Elon, I'm gonna show one more clip of Elon here that I thought was pretty good. Mm-hmm. And what I'm gonna say about Elon is I've got some good things and some bad things to say, but just like I told Dr. Roy, I am not resting on laurels. I'm not just turning authority over to Elon or to Trump or to any of these people. We need to hold them accountable. This is not a time to let our foot off the throttle. We need to hold these people accountable like they are our enemy. Not to act like they're our enemy, but to just treat them like they could be doing something nefarious.
Yeah, we put our blood and guts into getting them elected.
Yep.
So now show us.
Yeah, exactly right. Here's the clip. We love you all. I appreciate it. And same time next week, boys?
Yeah. Should be good for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll probably have to take off after that for Christmas because I'm going to Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
We need to queue up some.
I'm doctoring over here.
Queue up some Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Enjoy this clip. If anybody's still with us, this is a good one. I picked off. I thought it was good. This is from Mar-a-Lago, November 14th.
Well, listen, I guess someone's got to be the George Soros of the right. I mean, I'd call myself George Soros of the center, I think. We obviously need to have just the basics. As President Trump rightly said, what we need is the restoration of common sense. We want safe cities. We want secure borders, sensible spending, freedom of speech, respect for the Constitution. Anyway, so if that's George Soros of the right, that's me, okay? I'm incredibly excited about the future. The public has given us a mandate that could not be more clear. It's the clearest mandate. Winning the popular vote clearly, the House, the Senate, the Electoral College by a mile, a majority of governorships, a majority of House legislatures, all Republican. The people have spoken. The people want change. And we're going to give it to them. They will get what they asked for. I think this is going to be the most transformative presidency, perhaps since the founding of the country. And President Trump is picking the cabinet to do it. You can see the choices are people who are actually going to make change. It's not going to be business as usual. We're going to shake things up. It's going to be a revolution. And we're headed towards, I think, a fantastic future. I'm super excited. I look forward to experiencing that with everyone. Thank you.
Pretty good, guys. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I appreciate you both so much.
Hey, I appreciate you guys.
All right. See you in 7 circles.
Same bat time, same bat channel?
Same bat time, same bat channel. Maybe Bitcoin will be 120 by then.
Oh, my. It's over.
You better bring some damn glasses with you if they're at 120.
I'll see if I can get some off of Amazon.
No. We're not doing all that cheap stuff. I love you all. Take care.
Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
See ya.